Listen. Mama kalipa shule, baba kanunua vitabu na sare juu ili uende shule. Shule umepelekwa, mwalimu anasubiri na chaki mikononi ili upate elimu. Dunia inakwambia elimu ndio misingi, fikapo shule unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto wewe. Oh, oh, dunia mbaya. Wewe unacheza, muhula unapoisha unarudi pale nyumbani, kuna awalaba, umevuta mkia, visababu vyote vyako, mwalimu mbaya, shule mbovu, chakula si kitamu, maji ni shida, televisheni ubanduki, michezoni we ndio kocha, likizo nzima hukusoma. Wewe unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto wewe. Wololo, dunia mbaya. Mama wo 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 wo, yeah 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 yeah, wewe unacheza, unacheza. Unajifanya ng'ombe ukamuliwe na nani? Ukicheka na nyani utavuna mabua. Asosikia la mkuu ya uvunjika guu, wahenga walishasema majuto mjukuu. Shairi natia tamati, maisha maji makuu, kama hujui hujui. Unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto wewe. Ololo, dunia mbaya. Unacheza, mama kalipa shule, baba kanunua vitabu na sare juu ili uende shule. Shule umepelekwa, mwalimu anasubiri na chaki mikononi ili upate elimu. Dunia inakwambia elimu ndio misingi, ufikapo shule wewe unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto, wecheza, wecheza, wewe unacheza, wecheza, wecheza, unacheza na moto wewe. Oh, oh, dunia mbaya. Unacheza. Good evening. Thank you very much. Good evening. They say once an artist, you're an artist. I was coming for this, and because I had the guitar, I've been rehearsing, and they said, and I said, why not? So it's an impromptu, but I like it. Good evening, one more time. Long, 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 long time ago, many, 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 many years ago, when I was sweet, I was sexy, I was chocolate. I said I love you, and you said, boy, I love you. Oh. Then I kissed your lips, and you said, boy, I want you more. Long, 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 long time ago, many, 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 many years ago, you said, what you want is the thing that I want. Let's do what do we want. But that is when you love me. Nowadays you tell me I'm just a bother. You say I'm ugly. Sour, 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 sour. You say I'm old. Sour, 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 sour. I have no money. Sour, 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 sour. You say I'm broke. Sour, sour, sour. Sour, sour, sour. Time changes like a wheel of fortune, bringing tears of joy and those of sadness to the chosen ones. I'd rather be a hammer than a nail. Period. But that is not how alchemy works, folks. It is either black or white, cold or hot, tall or short, in or out, up or down. My grandfather used to tell me that we are only doing time like prisoners, we are locked up. It is your time to eat, yes. Yesterday was my day. Life is about taking turns. Performance of duties, it is not a rehearsal. In times of joy, celebrate. When sadness strikes, Lord have mercy. It is your turn. People say the things that they do, but they never do the things that they say. Yelelelele, mama, you cry, they will let me turn a vampire. A chicky, chicky, chi, bam, bam, happy, happy day when you're lucky. You are the conqueror. Yelelelele, mama, you cry, they will you blame it on a vampire. When you're busy, busy, you go jam, jam, jiggy, jiggy, happy, dappy, yeah. You go marry, sour, 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 sour. You are the conqueror. Sour, 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 sour. You say I'm ugly. Let me hear you say, sour, 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 sour. You say I'm old. Sour, 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 sour. And I have no money. Sour, 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 sour. You say I gotta go now. Oh, mama. Thank you. Thank you, Gote.
Thank you very much, Makadem. Makadem is a Kenyan artist. I believe all of you have witnessed him perform somewhere. If not, you can check out his profile on Music in Africa. So we are about to get to the business of the evening, and I'll take this opportunity to thank you all for coming and welcome Nina to give us the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to the Goethe Institute. Thank you for having found your way out here or in here. If you look at it from the perspective of the CBD, it's more thanks for having come in tonight, although it's not always easy. This is the second discussion in a series of discussions we are holding together with Music in Africa. Music in Africa, as you all probably know, is an online portal on music in Africa, on the music industry. It's there to exchange information, to disseminate information on music in Africa. And the Goethe Institute and Music in Africa have partnered for discussion series on the sector, but also for joint concerts. And we have been holding one concert already earlier this year, and we'll have one more concert that we do organize together here on the stage of the Goethe Institute coming up in November. And we have our new program out by the door, so do pick it up as you go out much later tonight, of course, and check it out and come back for the concert. Tonight, we are talking about the financial potential of Kenya's music industry. We have a seasoned panel that I will leave to our moderator to introduce. Our moderator tonight is Bill Oditi. Many of you will know him. He's the head of the English programs at KBC and a music journalist. Welcome, Bill. That's already it. The stage is yours.
So thank you very much, Nina. Nina is, of course, the director of the Goethe Institute, and you're very kind, Nina. Thank you very much for that. So, as Nina has already mentioned, we're here to discuss the financial potential in Kenyan music, and we'd like to thank Music in Africa and the Goethe Institute, and we'd like to thank you, of course, for turning up this evening. Nina's just teased a little about a very distinguished panel, very experienced people in music. And related fields. So join me in welcoming June Gashui. June is a recording artist. She just released a new album, by the way. Had a very glitzy launch at the Kenya National Theatre. The album is called 20 Years. It's self-explanatory. After 20 years in the music business, it's a bit of a fast, isn't it? So welcome, June. June is also former GM of Kenya Association of Music Producers, known as CAMP, so she obviously has the credentials to be sitting on this panel. Karibu sana, June. Welcome to Mike Strano. Now, Mike is the founding director of FAT Music, which publishes that newsletter that keeps us up to date with the events in the music scene here in Nairobi and around the country. He's done that prolifically since 1998. He publishes FAT Bars. FAT Productions is also part of the stable for events and concerts and managing copyright for FAT Music Publishing. So Mike Strano, ladies and gentlemen. Our next panelist is a cultural activist. I like that definition of what he does. He's a managing partner at Hiva Fund and co-director of the arts company The Nest. They've just had a very successful series, which is running online. He'll tell us about that. He's involved in social innovation and arts management. So join me in welcoming George Gashara. And last but not least, joining us on the panel is a singer and a producer and an engineer and the founder of a digital music portal, which is known as Wabe. Now, if you've grown up in Nairobi and you know a bit of the old Sheng, then you know, I think my friend here, Don King, unajua Wabe, sinio? It's a bit of the old Sheng. Wabe means cool, or at least it used to mean that when some of us were growing up in the city. So he's obviously been around a bit. Welcome to Tim Rimbui, the innovator. Tim. So the objective of this forum is to discuss the financial potential of the music industry in Kenya. Now, that obviously seems like a very enormous topic to discuss in an hour and a half, 2 hours. Music drives the wider economy. Music powers economic growth, creates jobs. Music is at the heart of social media. It has a ripple effect on new and innovative businesses, smartphones, tablets, audio systems, careers of producers like the ones we have on this panel, and the engineers and stylists and lawyers and accountants. June, you're a lawyer too, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just goes to show. So today the music business is transforming rapidly. Music consumers have a bigger choice, better access and value than ever before, but the music industry is struggling to achieve a sustainable growth. So you notice we're talking about the potential of Kenya's music industry, potential being the key word, but we'll not leave it at that. Hopefully by the end of this discussion this evening, we'll have learned from the experiences of this panel and your own experiences in terms of opportunities in distribution, in writing, in filming, and all manner of related fields in the music business. So we'd like to welcome you to this panel. Mike has probably been in this business longer than anyone else on this panel, right? I don't know that he's done 20 years like June, but Mike, what strikes you about the opportunities today compared to 15, 20 years ago when you and I were meeting at Metro FM and doing shows back then?
Is it on? Yes. Thanks, Bill. I think today most of the feedback I'll share will be from the music publishing point of view, which is an area of business that we've been in since December 2012. FAT Intellectual Property represents Shia Music Publishing out of South Africa and the whole Eastern Africa region. And so we represent a number of artists like Sauti Sol, composers like Tim as well, Eric Musioka, Hat the Band. So as a publisher, our role is to basically take care of their copyright, and now we've also expanded into related rights as well. There's a couple of things that have happened this year, and I'm not sure if this forum are fully aware of it. We worked with the CMOs to basically align the tariffs for copyright to international standards. So we're looking at a tariff for broadcasters as being 11% of their revenue. Currently, a broadcaster pays roughly $24,000 a month for TV, and about shillings, yes, and 75,000 shillings per month for radio. So it's basically a flat rate. Internationally, it's meant to be a percentage of revenue. So if you look at, I have the latest PwC report, and I think Music in Africa may make it available on their website. According to PwC, and I think the figures are a bit low, but we'll work with this. In Kenya last year, there was 56 billion shillings spent by brands with broadcasters, and the new tariff that we have gazetted with Kekobo and the CMOs, Kekobo is the Kenya Copyright Board, is 11% of revenue. So we're talking about 6.17 billion shillings per year coming to our industry from broadcasters alone. Currently, the CMOs collect 60 million. Yes. So if you look, and that's, thank you. So if you look at the tariffs being aligned internationally to the right rate, that puts us at the same rate as PRS in the UK. If you look at that, if you look at compliance, also compliance is very low, and now it will be law. If you look at that, we're looking at 6.17 billion coming per year into our industry, which will basically change the whole game for our industry. Okay? However, another important thing to note is that currently local airplay is only 30% at the maximum. So if you take 6.17, 30% means that only 1.85 billion stays in Kenya. 4.32 goes to the US, UK, Nigeria, South Africa. Okay, so that's why there's new regulations in place with the CAK saying that the local content must increase. So this year it's meant to hit 40%, next year 50%, the year after 60%. So we'll see more money staying in Kenya. Okay, so I think the prospects for the music industry are great, but for all of you who are stakeholders in the music industry, we need to make sure that this goes ahead, okay? We've been in a number of stakeholder meetings where basically users of music don't want to pay. And they've told us, DJs have told us, we don't want to pay. We're promoting you. but they don't understand what it takes to put the music out there. Okay, so everyone needs to pay to use music. It happens all around the world. Kenya should be no exception, and we need every stakeholder in the industry to support that movement. So when we call on you, please mobilize with us to make sure everyone pays. Thank you.
So wonderful. Mike has thrown lots of figures at us. Maybe I'll get the panel then to react to some of those figures that Mike has just given us, but also the challenge that he's thrown to radio stations such as the one that I work for. I'm not one of the ones that will not pay. At least my organization does pay faithfully.
I have some numbers.
So June, what's your reaction to that?
Well, thank you. I mean, mine would be to, as the Kenyans say, mine is just to reiterate and reinforce what my brother Michael has said. It's true. I'll leverage a little bit on my experience at camp. I was there for 4 years, and I stopped counting the number of meetings we had with, for example, media houses to try and explain to them the importance of paying for the music that they use, and why it is that they get the sort of listenership that they get. Some of us tune into certain radio stations purely because of the music that's playing at that particular time, and then you switch to another radio station again because of the music policy for that block of hours. So for us to be able to understand what these figures mean, we need to understand what the leverage is for the media house, right? So if I am a big corporate and I want to advertise my product, I will look to see which radio station or which show has the most listeners, and then I will pay for advertising for that slot because more of you will hear my ad and hopefully subscribe to my service or buy my goods. So that's basically the logic behind using the music. We don't mean you've used it to just play. So I wanted just to clarify what we mean by when we say somebody uses music for commercial benefit. The second point that I wanted to just emphasize on a little bit was them saying that they are promoting your music. It's not entirely untrue, right? It means that you have gone, you have said, look, Bill is my good friend. Bill, listen, I've launched my album and say, just play for me these 2 songs a couple of times this week. And they can either say yes or no, right? Depending on their music policy, who their audiences are, and how good your music is, bottom line, yeah? So promotion just means they'll give you a platform, but here's the flip side to it. You're all either creatives making this content, but you're also consumers. So if you have a role to play, when we say rally, we mean start making the calls to request for more local content. If it's good, I'll say that. If it is good, because at the end of the day, you can consume something that's bad. You don't have a choice. You can switch radio stations. The song will still play. So I think from my experience, I can confirm that it's been a very uphill task, and for us to even have gotten to a place where we have the Kenya Copyright Board and a few other stakeholders at the same table, lobbying with us to make it law. So it's not come and negotiate, because that was the window under which they would hide. We're still negotiating, but it's been 6 years, and you're still playing the music while you're negotiating with us. So we're not saying that they are the enemy, we're saying that we are partners, because if they shut down all radio stations, okay, we'll all set up our own, because now it's Situmenda digital. Yeah, so, but it's still a cost, right? So I think the main idea is to realize that everybody has a part to play, and that at the end of the day, we are creatives, but we're also talking about the business element of everything that will come out from our discussions today. So I'll keep reiterating that it's creative, but bring your business sense to the table, so that even when you're marketing, when you're putting your product out there, you've thought about who your audience is. Some of us don't take the time, I think, to understand that side. As creatives, the juices are flowing, you want to just create because you have a message, you want to just say how we are feeling inside. Then you forget some people don't actually care. And then we wonder why the music is not playing, we don't hear our songs anywhere. And this 56 billion, it sounds nice, yeah? Even the 6 billion sounds nice. But if your stuff is not being played, you will not get paid. It's very simple. So the pay for play motto that is used works both ways. Media houses, restaurants, nightclubs, DJs, everybody who uses has to pay to play. And for you as the creatives, your stuff has to be played for you to get paid, okay? So anyway, I'll say a lot more later, but that's what I wanted to say for now.
Pay for play.
Pay for play.
Pay for play, yeah. Okay. And June, being the good lawyer that she is, has just defined what it means to use music. Huh? You're using the music.
You're using somebody else's property for commercial gain. Yeah, even the guys who run a bar, they're using, right? How many of us have gone for a drink, then the music stops? You'll stay there and drink the whole bottle. No, you will say something weird has happened, like it's too quiet, you can actually hear Mike speaking. Something what has gone on, you know. So the whole idea is there's a way we can actually figure out how much more revenue this venue made because of the DJ who was playing or the music that was playing. So we're not at that level where we have, very wonderful statistics, we have other people coming in to do some of this research for us, but that's the way we think about the formula, yeah? We can actually attribute added revenue to each of these users because of music, right? Yeah.
Okay, let's bring in Tim into the discussion. Tim, what's your own impressions of what we've just been talking about over the last few minutes?
Okay, so I come from a very different background. I am a writer. That's how I started on this gig. I used to write for commercials. The first time I ever realized that you could get paid for intellectual property was I got tricked into writing commercials for Aquafresh. It was Fresh Freddy. If you guys remember, that will tell you how old I am.
Yeah, you can see the puzzles look around the room. Like so which Freddy is that?
The older guys smile, the younger guys are like, who is this Freddy? But the good thing is, when I look into the audience, having come for my first event here in 2001, I only know maybe 10 people, right? Everyone is young. And to understand everything that they have said, also have another thing that I live by where you can't sell the future to someone who is hungry. You understand? So I could be talking about 50 billion, 60 nini. It's like a spaceship. You can't figure out a spaceship if you don't have a bike. And that's why I think a lot of us are. I mean, from 2001 to 2016 when I started, there's been a lot of growth. I can see it, but to younger guys who are out there, and you hear these numbers being thrown about, 51 billion, CMOs, what, and your song is nowhere, you're on SoundCloud, you have maybe 15 plays. To say Mokweli, right? Like, these are things that are more important. You look at Coke Studio, you can see your pals, like, this potential, how do we get to the part where this first a balanced diet? Remember what Dida said last when he was running for president, like things that are basic. Yeah. And how do we get to the place where we have sorted our basic as we move towards the future? I was fortunate enough about 2003 when I was working for Suzanne Gashukia. She told me, Tim, you can write, you can produce, but that's not where the action is. Can we start going for these meetings? Like this. I was roughly around 22, 23, and those meetings sucked. Like this, it's just guys talking, numbers. You keep hearing initials, CMO, MPC, KBC, you're like, no, what is that? And me, I'm going home in a city hopper. Like, how does that change my life? And one thing that I got out of those things is I could write. So for me, when I look into the audience, again, it's primarily younger people. What I tell you is first, even as we get to getting your publishing and all that, how will you get to that point where a 0.001% of that 50 billion is yours? You have to be shit hot. Sorry for swearing here. Lakini it's true. Suzanne told me that 14 years ago, and it still works. And I see a lot of young artists, and see a lot of good content out there, but everyone thinks it's about knowing a DJ, it's about releasing one song a year, but that's not what it is. It's about the smaller things, like making sure you're good enough for someone to want to listen to you and not Chris Brown. Like, that's your competition. To want to listen to you, because immediately say you're a rapper, no one cares that you came out last week. You're against Calligraph and Rabbit and Octo. Like, that's the reality. Immediately say you're a singer, it doesn't matter how many dame, what. Sauti Sol is your challenge and Diamond. So what's going to make people listen to you? So before even we get to that 50 billion, for me, always start at the bottom, because we can't sell the future to hungry people. That's always. And then now the small things, when the small gigs start coming, it's the handshakes. I go for all these events, and it's the business that I've gotten over now since I started doing this. It's the talking to people, because people say the music business or the entertainment business, it has changed. It's no longer music TV, music radio. They're all one. How do you make sure that people know you? Your MP3s are on check. You're not sending me an untitled MP3 on WhatsApp with just 4 emojis for fire. Like, let's say the truth, guys. Let's say the truth. It doesn't matter whether it's hip hop. It doesn't matter. I love it so much. It's true. It's true. And here's the sad thing, guys. Wabe for me was a social experiment, because I found out from Visa that there's 30,000, at the time 35,000 credit cards in Kenya. I was like, my music on iTunes, no one is going to buy it. So let's create something that can work here, that works. There's more people will M-Pesa. Just from a numbers point of view, because me, I always like data. From a numbers point of view, there's more people in M-Pesa than credit cards. But the people I'm targeting, me, I don't want the Skiza crowd market. No offense, Kama. You have callback tunes, they are good. But you guys are snobs, you're laughing. But for me, I was like, I ain't about that life. Me, I want guys who want to buy MP3s, right? But the strange thing that I'm saying, the small things, we are close to 10,000 songs, but I see artists uploading songs on Wabi where you've taken a selfie that's upside down. Like, guys, like how will those 51 billions get to you? Then again, it's the emojis. So I think for me, there's a reason why it's called the music business, because it's as serious as medicine, it's as serious as, I even think to make it in, because you can be a mediocre doctor. Maybe some guys will die in Kenya, doctors, nothing happens to them. But you can't be a mediocre artist. That's the reality. It's one thing I realized. It's one thing I really realized many years ago. Like, you can be a useless accountant, you'll survive. You can, a useless farmer, you sell squishy tomatoes, and you'll survive, right? But if you're going to make it as an artist, it's 0 or 100. And if you look at the guys making it, it doesn't matter whether it's Benga, hip hop, whatever. New Nairobi, heck, I don't even know what's going on there, but they're booking shows, right? Which for me means they have created an audience, there's a market, people are willing to pay for them. So when those billions come out, they'll get their share. So you guys are predominantly very young. We'll get more into the details. For me, let's start with, because I still earn a bulk of my living from my intellectual property. Like, that's the truth. I still earn, whether it's from writing for acts, publishing, royalties for things I did a long time ago, but it's because I got my metadata. That's the information MP3s that you put on your MP3s. It's your publishing, like the business part of this thing. So that the day that the royalties come and they backdate it, 10 years back or 5 years back or 3 years back, like you've already set yourself up. We'll get more into it.
So,
Yeah.
what Tim is not telling you is that he blew that money from Freddie Fresh. Fresh Freddie.
Yeah,
you blew
true.
it all overnight. Huh?
Yeah, I have a confession to make. My first big check was, at that time, the artist I adored the most was Eric Wainaina. He came and told me, I have a jingle I want us to do. Me, because At that time, I was dating a lawyer. She told me never ever accept cash, ask for percentage. I asked for 30%. He said yes. I was like, damn it, I should have asked for 40. But he said, so at 23, I got like 250K, right? You guys, stop clapping. This
Where
a
is that
lesson in
money? Where is that money
responsibility.
now?
Right? Eric and I always laugh about that story. If I got 25, if I got 30% and it was like 250K, you can guess how much he got. All right? Now, between the two of us, the only proof of that money is a fridge. A fridge that I bought in Nakumatt for 30K. We blew that money like it was a music video. Right? We blew it.
Well, at least we've got something to show for it.
So
You still have the fridge, right?
So I think what I'm saying is I learned. You see, I've dodged that question.
You don't have that
So don't make the mistake. Me, at least I was fortunate. But God, I got another gig. But the lesson here is when another opportunity like that showed up, hey, there's no playing around. Yeah.
Let's bring in George. Thanks, team. Let's bring in George. George, you're not directly involved in music, right? But you're in film and you're in the creative business and social innovation and arts management and all these nice things. So how do we bring you into the music fold? You know, how do you what's your view?
Well, the thing is this, my work is to make the work of the people who make music work. Someone started with a conversation about money, and he said, light years ahead, when all stars align, there will be 64 billion that's spent in marketing, 56 billion by brands. Hopefully 6 of these billions will end up in music, on radios, and if there's compliance in terms of the cap of how much your music should be played, around us there should be 1.4 billion. But that's like light years ahead. But for me, whose work is to build from now to then, let's go where we are now. So yesterday in the night, because I do my homework like Kenyans, the night before the exam, I went and printed MCSK's financial statements. I didn't do accounts, but like somehow I've managed to understand these things. So these guys collected a total of 360 million Kenya shillings in the last financial year. So let's say all your music between Sauti Sol, Eric Wainaina, and my brother James, Jesha, all your music for the whole year, the money that was collected was 360 million shillings. That sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? For me as an individual, 360 million means a lot of things. It means that I could stop working and never come for these panels and pay for VVIP with Chris Brown in October. But this is for all musicians in the entire republic, for all the music. Let me finish with the analogy. It's just an analogy of the collected royalties for play. And so these guys used 208 million to collect that money. So they spent your money, and what was left for sharing? We are left with about 136 million. Are we together? So this is the money that's supposed to pay you for the whole year's play on radios. And they said on their report, precisely on page 5, the second last paragraph, that they made 23 millionaires. Let's clap for that. 23 millionaires. This means that they gave at least 23 people a check more than one. Let's assume that millionaires means that you are given more than 1 million. So let's say you're given 2 million. So 23 people, for the work that they did for the entire year last year, were given 46 million. Okay, 23 people. We can say maybe there was Sauti Sol, and there was Nibembeleze. You know, like all these people, you know, like there's Aaron here.
No. Me, I'm team.
Oh, team. Sorry. They are brothers. Anyways,
They're brothers, but they don't share the check, you know.
He can jab me also in the next debate. So anyway, the rest of the musicians, let's say not the rest of the musicians, the members of MCSK. MCSK has 12,153,000. I don't know, by the time they published the annual returns, there were 12,153. So we remove the 23 who have already been given 2 million each. The rest of the 12,100 and something are sharing 90 million.
Ooh.
So let's assume all of these people will be given the same share. They are being given how much? 7K. For your work the entire fucking year. My Mboch earns more than that. So let's say these 23, they are millionaires. We clapped for them. If you divide 2 million by 12 months, they're the best in this industry. They sing in all concerts. Their Instagrams have 1 million followers. They wear the best shoe. They go to all the concerts. You adore them. They go home every month with 160,000 shillings. That's before tax. When you think about it, the best musician, if we go only by the royalties paid by MCSK, based on that collection vibe, earns just a living wage. Not like the best doctor, or the best lawyer, or the best politician. So in a sense, from a person, from just an economic, from a numbers standpoint, and I know that there are other revenues sometimes, for those that are lucky, you get gigs, sometimes you get endorsements, there's a value-added service, what we are talking about right now, for the other musicians who are not the 23, is just to give you a living wage on your music, not even to make you rich. How do you start to earn a living wage from your music? That is the economics that we are facing today. It is not glamour, it's not rich, it is not Instagram followers. It is giving artists and musicians a living wage. And anyone else who doesn't look at it from that perspective is lying to you, because there can only be 3 stars or 10 stars in a market. But all the artists need livelihoods from their work. And so my persuasion about the business of music is to make sure that the person's earning from a year's worth of work 7 Gs. Yeah, there's a problem. And so that's what I want to start with. And hopefully maybe whatever we discuss will take us to the light years, where there's at least 1.6 billion. And if we divide the 1.6 billion backwards, people will be able to pay 40,000 rent in Kileleshwa and not having to live with their mothers, so that they can be artists. So that is the business, that's my perspective of business of music in this conversation.
Could I respond to the light years?
Yeah, but another interesting thing from what George says is that it obviously looks like even if we are to collect the 1 billion, George, our overheads will still rise in proportion, isn't it? So the trouble then seems to be with the collecting body, isn't it? Right?
Not necessarily. The more money you collect, the less admin charge you use. Because if you look at the figures I gave was broadcast only, which is only one revenue stream. Okay, of that 360 million, and remember there's 2 other CMOs, but that 360 million, 60 million came from broadcasters, 300 million came from matatus, venues, DJs, event organizers, okay? Those other sectors cost a lot to collect from. You have inspectors and collectors right around the country. June used to manage them for Camp and Prisk. It's a very heavy overhead collecting from the smaller users of music. The broadcasters are the biggest users of music. Nowhere in the world does the broadcast industry pay less in royalties than the other users of music. It's only in Africa generally. The other countries are very similar. So we're actually looking at taking 60 million to 6 billion, okay? And that's just for broadcast only. The other users will roughly be about the same. It'll probably be 300, or if they increase compliance, maybe to 500 million. But just to put a bit of hope and take away the light years thing, these tariffs are 2017, okay? So let's put it into perspective. It's 2017, it's gazetted now, it's law. Okay, as June says, they tried the negotiating for 10 years. It is now law. If they don't pay a percentage of their revenue, we have the right to go to CAK, and CAK will pull their license. It's actually a new regulation in CAK that if they don't comply with copyright, they lose their license. And CAK was also saying that they pay a penalty of 0.5% as well, on top of this. There's new regulations that are going parallel. CAK has new regulations, and also Kakobo has a new law. So we do know there will be opposition. Okay, media being media, we expect them to go to court. Okay, we're ready for it. And that's why I'm saying, as an industry, we need to mobilize and say enough's enough. We're not going to negotiate. You've used our music for 20, 30 years. You've made billions from our industry. Okay? You add 11% onto your rate card. You go and charge Safaricom another 11%. I don't think Safaricom's losing money, right? EABL, right? Banks, right? They're all declaring profits, right? How many artists in Kenya are declaring profits?
23.
Okay. 23.
June says
Well,
23.
according to George, no, they're not. And I agree with George. That's a very basic wage. Yeah? Our superstars are not superstars. And they should be. And what we're selling to stakeholders, we don't want to fight the broadcasters. We want the broadcasters to understand this is not a cost. This is an investment. Invest this 11% into our industry. What will it do? Better quality content, more jobs, you're employing more people, okay? The whole sector will grow, and they're a very important stakeholder. So it's also about changing the dialogue, okay? Just to also add, yes, the administration cost is very high. PRS in the UK spends 10%. The maximum by CSAC is the governing body for CMOs in the world, is 30%. SAMRO in South Africa is 30%. We're looking here that it's 70% for MCSK. There is a real issue, okay? And these are issues at the moment that the regulator is actually dealing with. But it doesn't hurt for all of us to get vocal, for all of us to become members of these CMOs, and to basically attend the AGMs and basically assert your power as a member. It's very important. We can sit back as an industry and complain, or we can get involved as an industry and change things. The choice is yours as artists.
If I could jump in briefly, I like the way we've set up the panel, because you guys are able to break down the business of the art into the projections, into what is there currently, and June's expertise as a lawyer. I think for me, what I'd like us to focus on, because for me, I'm about the now, right? The reality is, I don't know if anyone has said it here, no one in the world earns a living. Like your wage comes from royalties.
True. Yep.
And you guys need to hear that. It's never what this business is about. No one earns what you live on from royalties.
Maybe say it again.
It comes from primarily live performances. And if you're really, really, really good, the 1% of the 1%, maybe you get some endorsements. But that's just like being hit by lightning. All right? It's the reality, guys. Yeah. In between 2000 to 2016, I can count the Kenyan artists 2 hands who've gotten endorsements. So now, just numbers-wise, you can see how hard it is, right? So if we are preparing for the future, the potential, it means our content needs to be good, right? Show of hands. How many guys have one record? If you're artists here, one record, an album,
Hey, me, I can.
right? Album, 2.
Put those hands high, guys.
Let's-
Be
guys.
proud. Be proud. Well done.
Let's appreciate that. Okay.
Yes.
3, no hand. So now, here's the reality. You're lying. I know how many records you have. Right? So here's the reality, guys. If that money is to be divided now, if it landed in town, they had to divide it, it will be Rabbit, who has like 11,000 songs. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? He has like
Many.
at least 300 songs that are in circulation. Again, Sauti Sol have how many records? And all these guys have been doing this for 10 years. Jua Kali, Giuliani. So for us, if we are about the potential, a lot of us focus on that one song, and we focus on MCSK and Prisk, because they are easy targets that allow us to shield our mediocrity. Right? They are easy targets. It's easy to say, oh, my label, oh, MCSK, oh. But the reality is, how will we future-proof ourselves? Right? Your competition when you come out as a singer is those guys who have said, we've seen just in this room, only 2 people have. So I think the onus is on us to start future-proofing the potential. I mean, there's now, the Shia coming in representing songwriters. There's major labels trying to set up base here. You guys follow Nigerians. Diamond chucks a new song, like it's a series. He chucks a new song every week. How will you fit? It's like a series, think about it, that never ends. It's a series that never ends. He has more content than 24 and Orange is the New Black. Like, that's how much material he has out there. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, as we have moved, we are competing, your audience out there, Pharrell said that your competition as an artist, as a gigging artist to him, is Twitter and Instagram. Do you guys realize how important that statement is? His competition is Instagram, because when you think of going out for a show, it's more interesting to stay in the house. Like, why should I come out and see you? And my timeline is fire. Why should I come for a gig here or at Allianz when online is just so, what will make me leave the house? If those guys look at Instagram or Twitter or Facebook as their competition, and they have 5 million songs, they're everywhere. How are we supplementing our income from performances, from TV? Me, I earn a living from everywhere, including renting microphones. So even this microphone. Like, that's the business of entertainment. It's no longer music. Music, TV, and entertainment in general became one, right? People are earning from video games. My best series has been what these guys did. Me, just dubbed it from Facebook. Like I have everything from to come. Like, you'll just see them at Toy Market and it'll be loose.
He has stolen.
He has stolen your need of selling them because there's a market out there. So I like the conversation about CMOs and everything, but as someone who's done this for a lot longer than a majority of the people in the room, I think we need to be honest. How good is our content? Are we networking? Are we shaking hands? Are we creating as much material as we can before the expiry date? There's a really bad thing that we say, you can't be an underground artist after 27, get a real job. Do you know how bad, that's the reality. sounds painful. They silence, yeah, because guys are like,
I heard that. I just heard that.
but it's the truth. If no one tells you guys this, we are lying. So for me, to future-proof you, I think that's where our focus is. That's like the big enemies in MCSK royalties, but the reality is across the world, no one earns a living wage from these things. So
From
when I look
royalties.
into the room, everyone looks at least younger than 26, just means you have 1 year before you expire. But how much content are we putting out? Video games, like I said, me, I've done everything. I've mailed CDs to DHL, to SA, so I could be signed. Only one person responded, and it was a rejection. But like, I'm hungry. And when I see younger artists, there's guys who I follow, Kenyan artists who are so hungry. Rabbit makes me feel like I'm an accountant, because that guy is at the top of his game, and he's still hungry. So for you guys, you saw the numbers. Only 2 people have more than one album. How will you get that money when it's divided? The River Road guys, I've recorded a lot of River Road music. They have on average at least 7 albums, 2 VCDs, T-shirts, a Pro Box full of merchandise, and they even pirate
But
their
is it-
friends' music.
But also no.
Tim, just to jump in,
no-
according to PwC, yeah, physical sales at the moment is 700 million in Kenya.
Thank you.
Sorry, just say that
It's
again.
not
Mike.
happening here.
They're
Sorry, just say
still-
that again.
We're still buying
Physical
CDs.
sales.
Oh, physical, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 700 million
million.
shillings in Kenya, and it's over there.
But also, what is it that you're good at? You know, I think I agree with what Tim is saying. But not all of us are for studio, and not all of us are for stage. So that's another conversation. I mean, I think what we're doing is painting. That is, you know, that utopia, that wonderful heaven, yeah. And we'll get there. But you'll not get there if certain things are just not in your. Because that's the other thing. I think when you're young, what Tim is telling you is that he has tried everything, not everything worked. Now he knows what he's good at, right? So he's not saying don't try. He's saying you are young enough now that you can take certain risks, and you might hit some jackpots on the way, right? You might find that me, when I jump on stage, everyone is just like, my goodness, what is that? Then I enter studio and things just don't work. You know, you're off key, you're pitchy, you're what? You've paid for 6 hours, the song still sounds bad. Just stay on stage, man. Just stay on stage and get gigs. Understand what it is within this, because there's so many other revenue streams. There are so many others. This is my first album after singing for 20 years. First, because I've made my living from live performances. I used to gig 4 days a week, non-stop, after going to work in the morning, right? So I realized that was my thing. Like when I get on stage, guys seem happy, they're laughing. I'm like, yeah, I can ask them for money, they give me. So, why am I wasting time going to studio? You understand what I mean? I understood that. I tried to record one song. I was just told, maybe not now, maybe not. But I could have given up, and that hunger is what keeps you going. Say, no, me, the next 2 Mondays, I'm gigging. Then Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday, I say, okay, let me even go and have a kawan with my friends, because now I'm always on stage. You understand? So understanding what your strength is within this industry. Some of you might just become the best sound engineer, and you just don't know. There are drummers who have quit their drumming and become managers for other artists, because they've seen they have an admin skill nobody else has. Have you seen that poster that says when somebody, what people think they're hiring when they ask you to come and perform? Yeah, as an artist with a band. Then the list of what you're actually requesting for, from the microphones to the backline to the monitors. Like, that equipment is not 2 shillings. He can tell you he has bought. And he has to hire them out to recover the investment that he has made, right? So I think what we're saying is, in as much as that looks good, not all of us will make it there. Not all of our audiences respond the same way. Most of, like me, I can't even see myself on Skiza, because when you call the housey, who picks, what do you hear?
It's gospel.
When the watchman is supposed to be watching the house but is on the phone, what is he listening to? That is the demographic, and our guys of River Road have understood that. It's a business model that they have chosen, right? So you pick, and that's why I'm saying sometimes when you've discovered who you are from an artistic point of view and walk together with that sort of business sort of approach, you will then know, am I a person for live gigs while I'm also recording? Because then after you record and you release, now everyone wants you to come and record those, sing those, just the 12 songs that you have done. Nobody wants to hear anything else, right? Yet for 20 years you have been singing everybody else's. Anyway, the other market, as he's saying, jingles, endorsements, things like that. But again, when you're doing things like that, there's the money, and then think about your brand, which is again our utopia. There are people who have done some ads. Me, I'm like, when you are 40 and you still want to perform, is that going to be something you'll be, oh, you're that chick of, and you have to hide your face, right? So you have to start thinking of yourself and your product as a brand, which is why people can print T-shirts and wear them proudly with their name or their stage name on it, because that's merchandise. And somebody would not feel ashamed to say, I'm wearing a Artist X T-shirt, or I'm drinking from an Artist X, what else they have, caps, whatever it is. So the potential is huge in terms of the different sort of business opportunities. Also, what is it? Tima said he's a writer, right? Me, I tried to write music, it was difficult. And then I realized I had to partner with people who have that skill. We all have different gifts, right? So if you are a writer, you can write not just for yourself, but for other people. I like to use the example of Dolly Parton. What big song did Dolly Parton write? Let's see. I Will Always Love You. How many of you know Dolly Parton's version of that song? Say the truth, like 8 of you. Which the rest of us know whose version? So do you think Dolly Parton was like, no, that chick has a better voice than me. I don't want her to sing. She's like, make that money. You want another song? This one says, He Will Always Love You, version 2. Yeah? So she's understood what her strength is. And that's another way of revenue, right? Of revenue earning. So try and start studying yourself. Don't start running to do everything some of these guys have done. Somebody shared a video of Diamond the other day. Did you see Diamond like 10 years ago? Looking all as, this is, the muscles he had were all of this. And now look at him now. Even he started somewhere, okay? So it's not all doom and gloom, but you have to ask yourself some difficult questions now about what you can and can't do. So you're not disappointed and you don't give up, but you stay, with that hunger that we're talking about.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this other alternative revenue streams shortly. But George, you're the one who started this conversation about utopia, and it's taken a life of its own. Huh? Do you want to round it up for us?
I like the life it's taken. And there's a thing. Whenever there are panels like this, it's always easy to advise the beginner. Say, your future, nini. Make those albums, 55 a day, start, gym, start to count yours. But then, there's a place where you start. And for us, all these things have started to happen on us. We are artists, we want to produce work, we want to at least get a living wage. At the very least, go to Toronto International Film Festival, go to all these places, hata wacha nijiposition hapo kidogo. But you have to start somewhere. And the question is, the question of investment. If you're an artist who's come from Nakuru, your investment your music to be played starts with the bus fare. And then it goes to the place you'll sleep in Nairobi. And then what you will wear before you even find the contacts of the person. You need to call to take this CD. And usually they come in brothers. I love this analogy because all these studios, it's a brother and another brother. And the thing is this, you have to start to also be aware of the market that we are operating on. And we cannot give you advice and tell you now go with the power to read without also looking at the context in which we exist. We started a fund back in 2013, but we were only able to disburse the first amount of money in 2015, in August. After all that time, part of the team, there are people in fashion, there are people in music, there are people in the things that I do, I really still can't put a finger on them. But we always thought that music was the easiest thing to start. In fact, there are people who are making money, there are studios, There are promoters around here, there are DJs with big titles, there are performance spaces. So if you're going to look for an investment ecosystem, it already exists. There's an audience. But when we started to take a closer look at the market that you guys are performing in, we started to realize the peculiarities. And these peculiarities, we must discuss them openly so that then this utopia can be easier to achieve. The first thing you start to realize that as an investor, I'm not talking about as an artist, your struggles are for real. But my struggles are other struggles. My struggle is, how do I start to invest in a way that allows you not to give you a loan yourself, because when we said we need to talk to artists and ask them what do they want, they said we want money to pay the DJ or to make a video or to buy clothes so that they can take a photo shoot. So it was an expense-driven loan. And so we talked to the producers. The producers wanted capital investment. They wanted to build a bigger studio to create the factors of production for themselves. But in all this, when you look at the entire landscape, three things came around. The studios have no working capital. All the studios sign you up. They sign 50 artists. They see you on TV, they see you on whatever, they come to you and they sign you. But they don't have money to invest in you. So what they do is that they're gambling with the little money that they've already invested in the business, but they have no money to invest in you. So you're not a business in that sense. When you look at the artist takes 100% cost from ideation to video, from farm to fork. In any other industry in Kenya, even tomatoes, the farmer does not take 100% cost. There's someone who subsidizes fertilizer, there's someone who subsidizes the market, there's someone and so if I am an investor, the risk is spread across. But in music, particularly the musician, especially the musician who's starting, they start by paying studio time. And then once they have the track, the backside, especially the contracts, that's another space. Because you had 5 Gs and the studio time was 25K, you've given up 70% of your rights to record that song. Once you're given a CD like this, you're told, here is your ticket to stardom. The next thing is that you go back to your parents or your brothers or your sisters to record a video. So now you have a substandard video because it's under-invested, because you only could get 30,000 shillings. You got your wedding for a cameraman to make you the video for you. And you stood in the middle of the city center and there was one angle. And you're competing with Enos Olik. You have your music here and your video. The next person you are looking at is a DJ. Or you are queuing down at Lono House by yourself trying to... so this is a witchcraft that this industry is, that at the end of the day, the system does not invest in the musician because they also are underinvested. So on the supply side and on the demand side, there's very little investment. So eventually, you as a musician, when we are telling you to do 100 albums, we are telling you to go back home, ask your parents who are already disappointed that you're a musician, to add you money, to go and pay a DJ who will probably promise you that they'll put you on rotation. And mostly that DJ and the radio presenter and the VJ are brothers. This is the theory of brotherhood. So we have a market that looks cartel-like. And the problem is not that it is cartel-like. The people are not bad people. It's a function of investment. And so then the underlying economic model is rent-seeking. They are charging you instead of creating value. And there are few people who are trying their best to invest to create value. They are saying, you as a musician, I'll bet on you. I'll put 250,000 shillings and my time and my networks, and hopefully in 5 years, we will have created X amount of value in all these revenue streams, and we can share that value. Now that's business. And I have not had real value propositions about investments around music. What people do is that they are charging rent at every point. And that's, in economics, those who have studied economics, that is eating on the residual value. What happens is that the artist will diminish. The fire will diminish. And then we shall say there is no fire, you know? But then we are eating on the residual value. And eventually, we disinvest ourselves. And this is what we found as investors. And my boss is here. I hope he increases my salary. The other thing that we started to realize that's very dangerous in this music business, and that's why all of you cannot earn living wage, is the issue of unfair business practices. Maybe let me try another sector because this one is very close. The producer is a musician who is the promoter and who happens to be the record label. So who buys from who? Who ends up with the most value that's created by the artist? And if the artist is paying all through, then who is benefiting? Who is the music industry for? So you ask yourself, who is the customer for this music industry? Everyone's talking about advertising revenue. So who is the customer and the client? The customer and the buyer, the same person. So if you are tengeneza in your music saying, Paulina, Paulina, nini, nini, and feelings, 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 and then Safaricom tells you, please, don't sing about those feelings, sing about school, you know. So your customer sometimes, if your revenue model is based on advertising revenues, your customer is not the eventual music listener. Your customer is the corporate. So then you are a supplier. You can't call yourself a musician. You're a supplier to Safaricom. And so the problem is, we as musicians, we don't understand our business models. Our business models based on our revenue streams are advertiser driven. And if they're advertiser driven, then MCSK is the enemy. And no one is telling you that there are other ways to expand this pie. No one is investing in how else can the music business earn. What are the other revenue streams? What are the other points of growth? Because people already are benefited, because you'll meet someone who's on their phone, they can call State House, and then they can call the people at Skiza, and they will call the people at the radio station, and so they're selling access, they're not investing in music. And that has to be discussed. So while we are telling people to produce music, eventually the glass ceiling that they will find is that the structure of the music industry ends up at this one person's door.
But isn't that everywhere in the world?
But other people have other options.
Which are?
So,
that's the model of the music business everywhere in the world.
But maybe our infrastructures are not as...
We don't have the capital. The biggest answer to my question to you is,
I like
what does our industry need? What does our industry need?
Yes.
2 words.
From my perspective?
2 words. What does our industry need? Just 2 words.
Investment and infrastructure.
Tim?
Dirty money.
June? June?
So we'll clean it up.
Channels.
What do you think is happening in Mombasa? Anyway. June? 1.5 million dollars.
It's investment, that's what
It's investment, yes.
I'd say channels.
Working capital.
Working capital, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be a broken record. What's the easiest working capital we're going to get next year?
Elections.
From broadcasters. I agree with everything you've said, completely.
Yes.
But no investor is going to come into our industry today unless I get a ROI.
I am an investor.
Yeah.
I am in this industry. So I'm speaking as an investor who's already in the industry, who has money that I couldn't give.
Yes, you give me.
He has microphones, at least. Yeah, he can make some money.
And this
I
is
think
the
the
thing. And my problem is not to dampen this mood or to create sort of like the proposal has arrived. And not to create, but to also start to see the business. Because when we say that music is a business, then you also have to know the underlying economic principles that you are dealing with. You also have to think about your financial models, really. And then you start to say, if the challenge is payola, that you have to pay everyone along the way, and hopefully your lightning moment will arrive, then that is cost of doing business. So then you structure it as cost of doing business, and start to look at your music thing as a vehicle of investment. Because what we realize that does not exist. The only places that exist right now for investment are the producers, the aggregators, and the festivals. If we think about the producers, right now in the value chain, you ask them, what is the value that you're creating? What is the value that you're creating? If indeed musicians right now can get tutorials to make music, they can get stuff on eBay, and they can upload their music directly on SoundCloud to start to build cheaply an audience. And only when they start to get revenue, then they can come to a professional.
Are you saying he's about to become redundant? Or what?
Yes,
I can see the worried look on his face.
No, actually, it's the reverse, because it's true what he's saying.
Yes.
Technology democratized production. It's true, there was a time when everyone was looking for a producer. No one does. You do it yourself. It does. But what happened is your fan also became your competitor. Right? Everyone became a photographer, everyone became a videographer, filmmaker, everyone became a musician. So only the really good people now are going to earn a living. Like we've gone back to full circle. Like it still comes back to that point. Everyone is a photographer because you have a Galaxy, even a Infinix can.
I don't know. It's a very good phone.
So in as much as technology has democratized from production to distribution to even royalty disbursements, it all comes down to what's your content. And content is not necessarily a record, but it's how you earn a living as a creative. Because for me, I don't see the music industry, I see the entertainment industry, which is just, for those 3 seconds, someone is going to forget their dreary life. That's what Kirk Franklin said in the business of making people forget that their lives suck. Like, do you know that's what you're in the business of? Whether you're a filmmaker, a musician. So and everything that he's saying is true, that the model is broken, but it's broken everywhere. Everywhere. It's not only in Kenya. It's all pyramid shaped. Everywhere, and TV is actually even more complicated than it's the cost of doing business. If you know you're going, may I tell guys, if you don't have a label, budget for that payola. Or if that payola is too much, go buy Facebook ads. It's more efficient. Like, that's not the reality of, there's a infographic online, I'll maybe tag the group or find out getting everyone to see it, on the cost of doing one pop song for Rihanna. And it worked out to, it was cheaper to pay the producer, the studio, whatever, but the promotion was, I think, close to 70% of that song. That rule works even here. The promo is where the action is. And the promo is where he's saying, it's brothers and cartel-like, but that's everywhere, which is why there's a lot of broken hearts and broken dreams. Because, like I said, you can be a mediocre accountant, but you can't be a mediocre artist. It all boils down to, why should the cartel work with you? It's the risk of deciding to become an artist. Whether you're a world music artist, even though that term is just weird, you're a hip-hopper, it's the cost of doing business. It is extremely hard. He's broken it down in a way I've never had it broken down, but that's the reality. It's all cartel-like. It favors one point of one person in the chain, but it's like that everywhere. So, again, we can't sell the future to hungry people. what are we doing to make sure that either we increase our revenue streams or our ability to draw the attention of the cartel. That's how I've had to distill my entry into this business. Like there was a time I was dreamy-eyed, but as I get older, I'm now not in the age for youth. I'm for Nini mortgages. I'm no longer in the youth fund unless I become a woman or get disabled, which is that is true. After 35, the only way to apply to the youth fund is to become a lady to get disabled. So that's your Kenyan law. So if I was to apply for something for my seed investment as an artist over 35, those are my realities. So if I was to distill everything I'm telling you guys, what is your entry point? You've heard how hard it is. And not only for music, but it's the same for film and TV. Film and TV is not even full heartburn and heartache. It's harder.
I think that's why George went on Facebook with his series.
It's harder. But if that's the cost of doing business, how will we make sure that people are coming to us because they want our content? I mean, the greatest Kenyan TV I've seen has happened online. This guy's show, Real House Girls of Kawangware, Keeping Up with the Kagwerias, two guys are like, yo, what is that? But if you looked at anyone who worked on those shows, from the actors to the cameramen, their lives changed, literally. That guy was on the Safaricom commercial, what is it? Jugush. Me and he was a fan before he was cool. Like I have his videos from 2013. But it shows you create a product, it doesn't have to be expensive. If you look at where the entire value chain, people are going online and creating content that is relevant. So again, future-proof ourselves. Let's get our metadata right, but let's realize this, as she said, look at where we are, one, and then create content from that place. And that separation for music, video, doesn't exist. Partner with someone who is in the same business or who complements you, because it's not there anymore. Anyone who tells you contrary is lying to you.
Okay, so kindly just hold your thoughts. We'll pass the microphone around the room in a few minutes' time. So I know you want to challenge this panel on several of the things that have been said, including that economics tutorial that has just been given. But just hang on a little longer. June, you want to make a point?
I was just going to say, like, especially for I'm going to sound as old as Tim, but anyway, for this generation, who are, as my mom says, you people are .com, and some of us are. We have Infinixes. So you can use platforms that maybe we didn't have access to back in the day. And if you look at, I mean, one of my favorite things to look at is, you know, this TV presenter, daytime show host, what's her name? Ellen in the US. Yeah. I like how she literally scouts, her and her production team scouts YouTube for just randomness that has made people happy, right? So that shows you the power of a platform that, quote unquote, doesn't cost you as much as this entire cartel chain. Please note, even the cartel will drop you if you're not good, okay? All that does is get you your foot in, but if you can't sustain what it is that you're doing, even the brothers will drop you, yeah? So bottom line, you have to be good and your products have to be good, but use what you have available within where you are in your path. So if you're all guys of, some girl did a Sauti Sol, no, it wasn't Sauti Sol, it was a Kenyan, did you see that thing? Like what's her name? Michelle Basonga. That thing was just, how many of us watched it? And it's on YouTube. She's on her bed doing, and then she recorded, and this thing has gotten, I don't know how many views, and she's interesting. That's her thing. She's interested. I don't know the brothers yet, but they might call her. And now they'll be like, can we get you a bigger bed with, like, you know, and a shiny guitar or something?
Slumberland sponsorship, yeah.
But the point is, she's like me, I'm in my house. I can't even afford to go to a studio and get a green room, but she's used what she had at her fingertips. But if she wasn't good, she would have had 7 views, and you would have seen the post was from 2013, and we'd be saying, whoa, God. Because at the end of the day, if you're not good, that's the bottom line in everything, yeah? So try and ask yourself, and some of you might change career or go and pick that economics degree, and it will help you. It will help you because you will have a business model for your music. Right? You will know. For me, I just want to share a little bit about this because we've talked about contracts a little bit, and I think that's another thing that I wanted to just say because a lot of us make the mistake right from there, right? We've seen contracts, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, that were signed many years ago. But it's, the way you give yourself, you give your song, you give the next album, you give your children's albums, you give them all away because a guy put a little check in front of you. And at that point, because you are a farmer also, you needed fertilizer, you needed seeds, your kids were going to school, so that 80K looked very, very, very appetizing. So to our point earlier about you cannot preach necessarily to hungry people, please hold the hunger for 2 seconds to either get someone to help you read that contract or at least be aware of what it is that you're getting into, because a lot of the drama and the discouragement that we've seen has been because of bad documents. And we're not where we were 5-10 years ago. We're a lot more lawyers who are dealing with the creative industries. We are calling it intellectual property. I know we've thrown that word around. I don't know if we all understand what it means. But basically, if you are a creator of something that is an intangible creation of your mind, then there's some right that you are accorded by the law to be able to earn a living and to claim that thing as your own. But there are some things you shouldn't just give away for the sake of one little check. So I just wanted to throw that in because with money comes problems also, yeah? Mortgages, houses, all these are good things come, but also problems. We had one client who literally had signed off everything. When I say everything, even his performances in other countries. But of course, he had not read, okay? And then he performed, he earned money because he was thinking it's just this thing, this album or these tracks that we've recorded that they will now be the ones to distribute or to publish. But he ended up signing away his revenue from live performances as well. And it turned that this client, or this person who they had signed this contract with, ended up going to sue him for money that he owed them, and he didn't even know. So they were like, we've just been taking note. You performed here, yeah. Okay, he was at Gota. Mm-hmm. And then they slapped him with a nice, stupid lawsuit asking him for money because he's breached the contract that he signed when he was just looking for somebody to invest in him and help him. So I just wanted to throw that caution out that in as much as we can't do this by ourselves and you'll always need a partner at some point, be wise about who you pick and don't ever be afraid to go to the Kenya Copyright Board or to come to our firm, since we're all plugging. JGIP is in West Rand, so and we're also online. So if you just want to ask, we'll start a thing where every once a month we'll do a Friday afternoon of just free consultation. So don't all come, please. Also. But come when you know what your questions are. Don't come and say another day. Come with use your 30 minutes well, okay? But we've realized that a lot of it is sensitization because we'll throw all of these words around and you might go home. So if there's 1 or 2 take homes, you need to invest not just in your art but also in learning what the infrastructure looks like from a business, financial investment, and a legal perspective.
Okay, that's wonderful. We look forward to that legal clinic as and when it happens. Mm-hmm. Just bringing us back to a point that George raised. He talked about points of growth. And I don't know if this is the same report, George, you've been looking at, a PwC report, which shows that mobile music revenue will be responsible for a lot of that growth in music sales. There's also a significant rise in live music ticket sales team. Mm-hmm. Digital sales overtook physical music sales in 2015, although there's still a significant number of physical music sales in Kenya. But by 2020, I'm seeing a rise in streaming, George, isn't it? Huh? So, Mike,
yeah.
There's a massive rise in streaming, expected to overtake mobile, I think 2020.
Yes.
In that PwC report.
Which is an international trend as well. The digital there is 900 million per year. That's basically Skiza. But downloads is like 20 million. So, yeah, just to also build on what June has said, there's some very sad stories. Should you, do everything that Tim and George and June have been advising, and you find a track that gets traction and a PRSP wants to put you onto Skiza, now what's happening is that Skiza payments are going through the CMOs. But don't sell your copyright, guys. There's some very sad stories on Skiza. There's a couple of writers, one of them sold 2 songs for 2.5 million shillings. As Skiza Tunes, in 6 months, it did 23. And she doesn't own those songs anymore. Okay, and in some countries, it's actually illegal to sell your copyright 100%. Is it illegal here?
There's elements of copyright you can't assign or transfer to somebody else, but there's some economic rights you can, if you're not able to pay the full fee right up front. So that's usually the negotiation that happens, that they'll own a part, not everything, but a part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here, someone managed to get 100%. I think it's being challenged. I think it's important. I always believe in business, it's better to learn from someone else's mistakes than your own. Yeah, so observe, analyze, ask questions. You guys should congratulate yourselves for being here today. It shows that you're interested in learning, you're investing in your learning. We've been part of some sessions at The Alchemist the last few weeks as well. I hope you guys are going there. I know June has been there every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Just check Facebook. Never stop learning, guys. There's always something you can pick up in one of these workshops. I was wondering, Bill, if we could talk about some other revenue streams as well. We've been very much on IP.
Yeah.
I think we've really talked about royalties. George and Tim touched on endorsements. The title of this session was The Financial Potential of the Kenyan music industry. I get that we also need to look at today, but I really hope that people can leave here today with some hope. It's not doom and gloom. I think the next 12 to 18 months will be amazing. And synchronization is something to also think about. Back to endorsements. Endorsements, brands, and Tim's right. There's very little endorsements happening in this market. If you look across the border to Uganda and Tanzania, it's a lot more. Why is it a lot more? Because they have a lot more local music that's being played there. So now we have new regulations in place. There'll be a lot more local content. With the more local content, the endorsements will come, okay? In order to get on the radar for endorsements, what do you need to do? You need to increase your visibility. The easiest way to increase your visibility these days is social media. You can all do it. You don't need to hire a specialist. In fact, Google have a project at the moment called Digify, where they're doing digital training for free. Go to those courses, learn how to manage your own social media, get your visibility up, get your hits up, then all of a sudden you'll get more airplay, and then you have more potential for endorsements.
Okay, thanks for that tip. Let's just pass the microphone around the room. Please make your points really sharp so that we can accommodate as many views as possible. I think Beth is holding the microphone.
Please introduce yourself and the industry you represent.
Hello. I guess I have to stand up. And if you hear me sniffing like Donald Trump, it's not my fault, it's just the microphone. My name is Tabo Susa, and I work with Ketable Music, which is a studio. And to prove George wrong, I don't have a brother who runs the studio with me. Anyway, I just want to give great thanks to Music in Africa and the Goethe Institute for bringing this forum together. I just want to give a few comments. First, I would like to say that I believe all of you know what Tom Mboya Street is, where it is.
What, Tom Mboya Street?
Where it is.
Yes.
Or where it is.
Who isn't aware? They can check on Google Maps, I think. They'll look
Anyway,
at it.
what I'm trying to say is that most of the people who are represented here play music that is consumed by west of Tom Mboya. So we need to have that inclusiveness so that we also have our brothers from east of Tom Mboya, because they would learn a lot from this kind of forum. But my other advice is that for us to sell our music internationally, I mean, for us to sell music, we need to look beyond the borders. Because I like giving an example for our athletes. If they're all running, around Molo, they won't be that famous today. And our footballers, if they need to go out like Oliech and Mariga, they won't be popular today. So as much as I know that it's very important for an artist to be very well known and appreciated locally, we should also try and sell our music abroad. And the only way we can do that is by having a proper identity. You see, there's a lot of misconception that hip-hop is Western or is for the youth, and Benga or Momboko is for the old. So, one is urban, one is rural. That's not true at all. You see, like for example, what the Nigerians are playing today, and we're all consuming Nigerians' music. This all came from the old Juju music of Nigeria. Right now, they're doing great stuff with it, and our guys are copying it. You see, the world has become one market, and everybody must bring something to sell in that market. But the Kenyans really disappoint me, because we always want to consume Nigerian music. We always want to consume and play West African music. We also want to consume and play Congolese music, South African music, but not ourselves, which is not right. So for us still to make a living out of music, and I think George asked whether you can really make money from royalties. Yes, you can. I can give a good example. Is a guy called Ayub Ogada or Job Seda. He used to live in the UK. Right now he's living in the village somewhere in Nyahera. And he makes his living through his royalties. Music that he made with a proper Kenyan identity. And talking about selling your music, I think it's Mike who said, don't sell your rights. Yeah, true. This is just like, it's not a joke, but it's the truth. Do you guys know Daudi Kabaka? Yes. Well, he's since dead, the one of Harambe and the rest. He sold his music for 1 bob and a bottle of whiskey. You can Google it, to a British band called the Tremolons. That was, I think, in the 70s. Which was a big shame. So we should sell our stuff, but then also we need, and this is something I'm going to ask Mike, don't think I'm getting at you. When we talk about you representing Share, and we're taking our music as publishers out, shouldn't you just have it like a local company so that we keep everything in Kenya? You can answer that later when you want to, but one thing, let's not forget the people of east of Tom Mboya. Let's take that music and make it chic. Let us take that music and make it cool. We can do it. When I go back to South Africa again, we used to have Kwaito. I know this guy just died the day, Mendoza. He was so popular here. But Mendoza was playing the old Bakanga music and made it into house music. Why can we not do the same thing here? Because we really need to appreciate our own stuff. I had one discussion with Tim's brother. Too bad I've got a famous brother, Aaron. Anyway, my challenge to Aaron, whom I believe is one of the best jazz artists in town, and ask Aaron, why do you have to play South African jazz? Why can't you take something like Momboko and jazz it? Make it really nice jazz. We can do that. We must do that. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere. We'll be famous here. And I'm talking about these young guys. You'll have all the girls you want around here, but you won't be known anywhere. So we have to really think identity. Let's not forget that. Identity is what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Tabu's points on inclusiveness, well taken. Mike, you'll respond to it. Let's just hear a few more views, quickly around the room, and then we'll get the panel to respond to maybe a couple more, and then we'll come back.
Hi, I'm Jude. I've been running the sessions at the Alchemist Bar, the workshops. The thing that I wanted to say was the thing that's actually made it possible, the internet, the social media, the access to global audiences that you get from the internet and learning those skills, right? It's kind of leveled the playing field so everybody has a chance at getting money from a global audience. Is actually the thing that's making it more difficult, because your competitor is not somebody that's sitting next to you or somebody big in Nairobi. It's Rhiannon and Jay-Z and Damian Marley, because access to that, their songs, their products, is easily available to everybody. So the thing that's making it easier to be out there and make money is actually making it harder, because your competitors are a higher quality. So I think it kind of throws it back to something which I think is like kind of key, which is we have to raise the game with the content. We have to just get better at doing what we do so that we can compete, because we've got access to it, but we need to raise the quality so that we can actually compete against the people that are real competitors.
Super, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Atwal. I'm actually a producer here.
Sorry, just say the name again?
Atwal.
Atwal.
Yeah. Now, I have, there's one issue you guys talked about that I feel like we need to get deeper into, and that's streaming, yeah? I look at the numbers and I look at, say, the best-selling album this year, say Views by Drake. It didn't sell that many copies, it sold about 1.2 million, but then when you look at the streaming, it has over 1.4 billion streams. And that's more than anyone else. That's a lot of money. And since the RIAA in the States started accounting for streams, they actually get into albums. Now, I look at what we have in Kenya. Right now, the closest thing I see to, like, let's say a distribution service that's really good is like Wabe, that Tim founded, right? But then what I'm asking myself is, why don't we have a dedicated streaming service that, let's say, a lot of people have Androids and iPhones. So if you had like an app that, we can implement a streaming service into, maybe that can help a little bit. Because, like I said, I look at Wabe, and what if Wabe had a streaming service that, people could access? Maybe that could work something. Yeah. Okay.
So, Tim, Wabe is a download service, right? Rather than a streaming service.
It's both. It's streaming and downloads. Actually, our biggest numbers, which is north of 1 million, is from streams. But the reason why we don't push the streaming is until there's a couple of technical things that need to happen in the market for it to be a service, meaning people pay for it. It was to be a bit technical, it's an API from Safaricom, which means, so to allow us to actually bill monthly. There's a couple of technical things that are not possible. So we're probably launching a streaming service where one can pay for X amount of money and then you access music towards the end of the year. But the challenge here is also, it's good to talk about Drake and everything, but as Tabu said, know your market. Kenya, for example, has about 12.5 million smartphones, and of those, they say at least 75% of them only use the stock apps, which means what ships with the phone. That's the first challenge. Then the second is data access. Other than Nairobi, Nairobi is Nairobi light. It's low carbs, low problems, Africa, right? Data is very cheap here. And when you go to out of town, then you realize, in as much as Kenya has the cheapest data rates across the continent, out of town there's a problem. And not everyone is on Safaricom, is on Safaricom. So while we've been able to accomplish a lot in the 2.5 years, there's a lot of other things. Before, when we started, I thought we'd put it up and guys will come up. But I realized our greatest wins have come from education. You see, I'd say either Zuku or Safaricom doing it when they launch a product, because Kenyans are peculiar. You need to re-educate them. You're seeing it with now Sandy, if I was to use that, or Little Cabs, where you have to educate the audience. The challenge of living in Nairobi is because we are very cosmopolitan, is we think, and we really look westwards. May blame Moi for that, by the way. Is we forget where we are. And that's something, if you told me that, like, team of 25 years, one or 25 years ago would really hate what I've said right now. Because I just sound like Tabu, right? Which means we need to look inwards. And for me, it started as a social experiment that's growing, but with time, we'll get there. As far as counting streams and as an income resource, again, may always go back to the numbers. He gets his money from performances again. Going to Billboard, the numbers are on the numbers that he lives on are actually from performances. Streams are, if I was to use funding terms, and views are what you call bullshit metrics. They're good to talk about. But when you look at the amount of money you get from either a stream from Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube, which is 0.000003 cents, you realize there's nothing there. This guy who was here who played at Blankets, he earned $4,000 for over 1 billion streams.
Aloe Black.
Aloe Black. So it tells you even across the board, streaming is good because you're being paid for something that is not a real cost. Like, you'd have never gone and paid about it. It's 0.0003. It's less than 3 cents per stream. So with time, as streaming becomes bigger, the numbers will go, at least for the rights holders, will come better. But always remember your focus, especially if you expect to live off this. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, sorry, can I just add, off of that point of streaming, you also have to remember how much people are willing to pay. Because streaming is done by subscription, which means somebody pays a monthly fee. What is that monthly fee you're prepared to pay? And then how many songs will you listen to or stream in that month? Then that is the figure divided by the amount you've paid that is now becoming the 0.000. So there's very many components. And even if it's 5 billion, I agree, it's actually very, very little.
You'll make more out of radio with royalties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two things about streaming business. First, it's okay to be hopeful and to look at demographic change, technology change, niche markets becoming quite interesting going future, because again, you need to know who is listening to you and to target them specifically. But the question of know your market, from a business perspective, let's say streaming happens on phones. We did a small experiment and we got a few statistics, and I would assume generally it's comparative. So a lot of people who watch our films online are between 25 to 35 male, because they're the ones who have telephones, who have incomes, I assume, and can spare some money to spend online. So
I think it's more the last point, isn't it? And the previous two, but anyway.
And then does your music target them? So the other part, if you look at royalties, as a comparative study, the people who got most money, top 10, for 2015, 2016, I'll read their names, and so that you realize who you probably will need to stream, because people actually listen to them. There's Angela Chibalonza, Gloria Muliro, Sarah Kay, Dennis Mutara, John Demedio, Les Wanyika, Mercy Lina, Paul Mwai Mudike. Are you hearing any of your favorite artists? And then DNA. So in terms of like looking from a business perspective, the people who are willing to pay for this streaming, first they are male, they are between 25 to 35. Those are the ones with disposable income. Then this is the stuff they listen to, you know? So if you're streaming for them, maybe that's a business proposition. But if you're looking for a niche market in Nairobi, a better perspective would be a live experience where you can leverage beyond just the streaming. You can leverage on the gate entrance. You can leverage on the food they drink. You can leverage on cross-selling your merchandise. You can if it's a niche, then bring them physically, you know, and give them a bigger experience where they spend on more than one item around your music. But if you're going for the mass market, then you realize then if it's mass market across the board, your customer and your audience are different. Your customer is the person paying, and mostly it's a corporate, and your audience is a eventual listener who is not paying but is being advertised to.
So just before we take the microphone around the room once again, Mike, you wanted to respond to Tabu's points, and I think he raised several issues about identity and so on. And using the example of Share Music, which you represent.
Yeah, I mean, Tabu's been campaigning for this for as long as I've known him, and he's right. If you look at the industries, if you look at WizKid now, WizKid's going to be performing in Mombasa. He's being paid $700,000. Dollars, not shillings. He's being paid more than Chris Brown. Chris Brown, $500,000. Okay? Because he's the hottest right now, right? What is the root of his music? Afrobeat. Who founded Afrobeat? Say it. Thank you. Know your music history. Yeah? Okay. I think that's one of the challenges we have in Kenya, and and I've discussed it with Tabu a lot of times. There's this rift on Tomboya Street. Yeah, there's uptown and downtown, and we never meet them, and they never meet us, with the exception of Macadam. Okay, he's been spending time with them because he's been learning how they do their business. Okay, I think we need to stop this. Urban music needs to stop feeling so special. Okay. They're the guys with the real numbers. They're the guys with the real business acumen. And it also, the same happens in film. They'll churn out a series in a week. Okay? They know what the market wants.
There you are, George.
Okay? So,
very true.
So if you look at Nigeria right now, people look at them in a very envious way, but they didn't wake up yesterday. There's no such thing as overnight success. They've been working on this thing for years. Okay? Kenya, unfortunately, had this gap, where the Moi era music died. Okay? Nigeria didn't have that. So they have a very strong musical legacy. That's what we need to build again, and we need to make up time. And you need to make up time by crossing the road and learning and meeting some of these guys. Talk to Credible, they can help you get there. To answer Tabu's point on Shia, Tabu, we are incorporating, at the moment, FAD is an agent for Shia, but we're about to incorporate the company here. So, which means that we'll have more local presence, more local resources, supported by South Africa. So that's something we're definitely moving towards.
Okay. All right, thank you. Beth, can you just take it on once more?
Can I add something about publishing that I found interesting? I had a client come through and we were looking through some contracts for her. And she found out she had a brother upload her music. He's studying, I think, in Singapore or somewhere. So he's like, look, I'm here. Let me see if I can hook you up and upload your music on, I don't know if it was iTunes or whatever, but from there. And most of her listenership is from Asia, which she found very weird because even in Kenya, most of us are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. But most of her revenue stream, because it shows you the back, you can see your content analytics, to see where people have listened in from and where they've bought. And her audience is actually there. So that's one of the things I think I've learned to appreciate about publishing is that there's always an audience somewhere, even if it's not here, even if you don't get the love you want here. It's okay, somewhere in the world, like in Asia, they might be like, oh my God, she's like everything. And they're all singing Chakutumaini. So you've seen now they're all doing, all the Catholic choirs albums are being redone. They're doing cover versions in Japan and China. Just go on YouTube. Chakutumaini. It's very wonderful. And they're going to make money and they're going to buy the music and they'll stream it. Yeah. I wanted to just add also, just on the point about our Tomboya divide. I attended one of the very first workshops I attended when I first came back from school was, one of the speakers was a guy called, I think it was Nduti. Man, if I tell you this guy's watch his hand couldn't raise itself more than here because he had a nice big gold watch but he was very honest about how his business model is very simple. And he says, when I'm leaving my house, I used to walk on the street, then I hear a very interesting story at the bus stop. These people are talking, unaona, the wife of so-and-so was in talking to the butcher. That is the movie he will make that week. And every week there's a different story at the barber shop, at the what, and it's real life. And he'll do them in different vernacular languages because he understands not everybody is like a fan of English or a fan of whatever. And that was his business model. It was very simple. He had that same 2 cameras, 1 room, you paint it green, it's the living room, then you wait for guys to paint it again, it dries, you shoot the evening scene, because his budget was not massive, but these guys were getting a salary every month. He said everybody on his crew would get a salary because he would print these things, sell them for 100 bob, tell every barber shop, every butchery, every whatever to play it on the TV, and then his pickup would be somewhere. So we're like, Yani, that's it. So you don't even come to our side of Nai. He's like, I don't need you guys. But it was an eye-opener for me because this was like 6-7 years ago. And this was the first time I was like, who is this? I don't know you. Like, I figured out, like, I know everybody by now. There's nothing like that. It's a whole other world. And I think it's time we start appreciating. In fact, we're late. I agree. We're very late. Appreciating what it is that they've done when we talk about business models and they've understood their audience and they've understood their market. Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, where are we with the mic? There you go.
My name is Solvation. I'm a performance DJ of African house music and a producer of the same. So, talking about the financial potential of the creative industry, this is something that I think we as artists, since we are the mirror of society, we need to start pushing right now, and hopefully it will work in the future. I think, like you guys have the connections, yeah? Let's start push for something.
This is the cartel right here.
Yeah. Something that is that's gonna bring back music, art and craft, home science, agriculture, back to the primary schools, because the Kenyan education system is majorly 844, yeah, rather than GCSE. And I've interacted with kids who've gone to GCSE schools, and I've found that they have a stronger cultural muscle than people who've gone to 844 system. And I think the moment we'll bring back art and craft and music to 844, that's the moment even someone like me, my parents will stop bothering me about becoming a DJ instead of becoming an architect, so to say. You see, because it will make music, entertainment, or anything that it is become relevant. And once something becomes relevant, people will give more attention to it, and that's the only way we'll start realizing also money coming from it, because most artists here have passion, but they have no knowledge about music, they have no knowledge about producing good stuff, so that's already something that makes us move much slower than we'd have moved if people had this basic knowledge at their fingertips. So I think we together as a group can find ways of pushing to ensure that music, art and craft, home science comes back to our schools. Even that will have ladies who know how to cook more than the way we have it.
Yeah. Or guys, yeah. Or guys.
I'm Victor Zombo, a bass guitarist and a songwriter. Could you please touch on the issue of movie soundtracks and advertisement jingles, and the potential that industry has and what the current state of that industry is?
Okay. Small.
Hi everyone. My name is Ache. I work with a few artists. First of all, my first question is, why don't we have MCSK representative on that panel? And why don't we have a Prisk representative on that panel? Because I think those are like more important people, not than you guys. No. Yeah.
We'll answer you.
No, not
Yes, girl.
It came out badly.
Just
but I'm just thinking, okay, it's good that you guys are starting to give guys education about the whole how the industry works and everything else. But there's a very big gap, and there's so much to be taught about. Because as much as you guys saying people get money, have to spend so much, you forget that 90% of Kenyan artists literally have to work 2 jobs. You work and you get probably 15,000 per month, and spend all that money probably in a studio making music, that you don't get nothing back in return.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if there's a way, there's a system that can govern artists in Kenya, it can be of much help. Yeah, it's okay. As in, from what I've gotten with the whole panel, it's more of motivational talks than it is of solutions.
Okay. We'll answer you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just being
That's
honest.
good.
Yeah.
What time did she come?
Shots have been
I don't
fired.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
fine.
No.
That's-
Yeah. So as in, everyone here is gonna get out of here, and they're like, Diamond started from somewhere, so started from somewhere. But then where does that leave me as an artist? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
start from there, but I really need to get a solution. Like when I get out of here, I'd really want to be where they are, but not in such a way you're just gonna tell me of a photo of them on 10 years and now. No, it's not gonna help in any way. Just give us solutions. Like from here, when I get out of here, I'm gonna be the next big thing in Kenya. Okay. Secondly, you guys were.
Okay. Well, what's the name again?
Angie.
Angie. Okay.
Angie.
Can we get a
Archie.
Archie?
ACHI.
Like the comic book? Okay.
Like,
All right.
okay. Sawa.
Great.
Thank
Can
you.
we just
Okay.
get response to those fantastic points that you've just raised?
Can I just finish first?
Yes, you can. Let her finish.
All right, go on.
So we can answer.
Something else. There's this fight that has been going on about godfathers, in quotes, in the music industry. No godfathers, yeah? I respect Nameless, I respect Red Sun, I respect all these people. But then I think the biggest problem in the music industry is the media. Personally, I think that they bridge between guys and, because they totally choose who they choose to put in front there. They choose what music you're gonna listen to. Okay, according to them is this .com generation, as we call it, is like an online kind of generation, right? So they assume everyone is supposed to listen to music online and everywhere else. But then I'm thinking if the media just let every content that is good content out there, it's gonna give guys motivation. Because we've heard of upcoming artists with very good music, and they don't have a place to like channel it, because the media literally chooses who they're gonna play and everything else, yeah? And yeah, I think the challenge basically is not with the artists. The challenge is the guys that think they know better than the artists. Yeah, the guys that think they have solutions but don't really want to share it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
indeed.
Archie.
Fine, can we just respond to
Yes.
to her?
Okay. Let me start.
She says she's heard motivational speakers. There's a gap because MCSK is not represented. And yeah.
Okay. Hi, Archie. Thank you for your questions. I think I'll start by a bit of history, just so that it makes sense in terms of the context I'm going to respond to you in. I think at the beginning of the session, we actually addressed some of the questions you've raised, and we made a few points about why we don't want to just focus on collective management organizations, which are the MCSK, the CAMP, and the PRISC. I believe the last forum that was talking about the music policy did have representation from Music Copyright Society of Kenya, and in the audience were also members from those other collecting societies. So also to give a variety to the people who keep coming for these sessions, I think it's important to not only have the same people. That's the first point. The second point is MCSK, CAMP, and PRISC, which are the collecting societies, handle one thing and one thing only. It is the collection of royalties, or what we call license fees, to then pay out royalties to people who have made music that is either played on radio or in a venue. So if you have not reached there, those bodies have no business, you have no interest in them until you have created content that is either broadcast or that is played in a venue. So if that's their only job, and I would hate to think that we believe that that's all there is in the music industry, because then we would be in trouble. We said earlier that royalties are not the only way for you to earn a living in the music industry. I believe Tim made that point about an hour ago. And we said it's important for us to tell you that now, so nobody cheats you and you're not cheated. That the people who are receiving royalty checks now, that is all that they rely on. They are doing business in music. So even as the artists in this room, one of the solutions that we have tried to share with all of you this evening is the fact that you don't only need to focus on making that one track that one radio DJ or radio presenter will play, so that you hope and pray that when that radio station pays MCSK, that your name will be on that list and you will receive your 1,000 shillings. It cannot be only about that. So our challenge is actually to you, the artist. What else are you doing to create a sustainable, revenue-generating business in your musical career, right? So I just wanted to clarify that for you, in as far as this MCSKs, the Prisk and the camp. We're not saying they're bad people. We're saying they were here at the last forum and they shared what they shared. And now we're saying, because our title today is the financial potential over and above royalty payments, what else are you going to do as a music industry entrepreneur? Not just waiting for 2 payments in a year of a few thousand shillings. I hope that clarifies that for you.
Well, there was a question.
Can I also jump in? I'll be very frank, I'll be honest. Actually, your questions are valid, but I think we tackled a lot of them. Even to be honest, a lot of them were answered, right? A lot of them were answered about why MCSK is not here. We talked about why the focus shouldn't be on royalties, and as opposed to, and then the thing of why the music industry is set up as a cartel. It's the truth. In the same way that if you decide to become an architect in Kenya, you'll do 9 years. It's not unfair, it is how life is. And when you decide to become, in any profession there'll be professional bodies. We decide because of either an attitude or just frustrations from the music business, we decide to call it a cartel or to see imaginary roadblocks that are there. If there's folks earning a living for music in anything that we've talked to here, it's they've found something that worked for them. And my challenge for the younger artists who are here is we've attended a lot of these forums, and the honesty of Archie is great, but doesn't represent, it's what I call, it's a bad attitude, because what happens is guys come to ban the panelists. It's the truth. I said from the beginning, we'll be honest. And ignore the data. We ignore the data of how the industry works because we are frustrated. It's not a one-person effort, it's a team. A lot of the information that she's asked has been reframed to point to a negative image of an industry that has existed before we came. So I think I'd urge the younger guys to listen to the people who've gone ahead of me, because the danger of looking for a ban or for ignoring information that's not necessarily polite or not what you want to hear, for blaming, like I said, the threat is not MCSK, no one earns from MCSK. That's so if you're preparing for the potential, a lot of great information has been given here, and we shoot ourselves in the foot if we focus on something that is not accurate or truthful.
Thanks, team. Thank you very much. There was one other question from the bassist. I didn't get his name,
Peter.
but I think he was talking about movie soundtracks and
Peter?
jingles,
Well,
synchronization, revenues.
There's actually some substantive questions that have been asked, which I think we should actually address. The question of bringing back arts and craft and music back to the curriculum, that's amazing. And I feel that as a country, we must start to train ourselves early. But then there's a question of now. Right now, what do you do if you're the guy who's done 844 and you just had Fasihi, double maths, and Chem, double. So, and you want to be a musician. Well, the thing is this, is that in the absence of formal training, in the absence of spaces where you can actually quite learn the technical skills, if you have data bundles, you can start to do the tutorials online. And then you come to people like the brother here, one of the brothers here, to actually shadow and start to learn. And then you create your own aesthetics, because the enterprise part of music is your aesthetic. To join the question of score and jingles, that's secondary market. And now that's a question of what is the other life of your talent that can give you revenue that you don't have to rely on the data from MCSK. But then the question is there a big enough industry? Do you have a competitive product? If you want to produce jingles for the Riverwood model is to cut costs. So unless you are doing barter trade or that you're also co-producing with them, there's no revenue substantive that will come from that model. But you have to look at what model are you attaching your revenues to. So I think the more in-depth would come from the other side of the table.
Tim wanted to say
as
something.
far as you asked about movie scores and films and advertising, I think if you are a musician and you're in this room, that industry is ripe. There's a radio station, a TV station, online opening up every day. And a lot of these guys don't know how to brand because no one is buying the expensive branding content from. By branding, I mean your radio station identity jingles or all that. So a lot of the times we feel like there's an invisible wall that prevents you from getting that gig. You're good, do something, send it out. I still do it, you guys can. You'll be surprised. Prepare, do something that's nice. Just send it out, you'll be surprised. That's the first thing. And there's a huge opportunity for our studio, for at least I know that, and also Monsieur Kaz. A lot of the big studios, you'll find the majority of the work comes actually from what you're asking about, which is film scores and advertising. It's a huge industry that's still growing. Then to the guy who asked about formal education, it is true that it was removed from the curriculum, but and it's coming back. You'll see just before the election. It's true. Because they've seen the obvious advantages culturally and all that. But to someone who is here who wants to learn, there's so many resources now. YouTube, forget even YouTube, there's Coursera. Coursera is just, you can learn from Berkeley, you can learn anything on any instrument for music business, and it is free, and you get that certificate. So save your bundles, sacrifice Facebook once a day or a week, and you'll be able to learn whatever instrument you desire. It would be great if it was in the curriculum so that everyone else could benefit, but at least for someone who wants a quick fix solution now, there is. Always tie examples to a story like that for a personal example. Kato Change, who is probably one of the best guitarists right now, taught himself from YouTube. He's on Coke Studio 3 years now. He's been everywhere. He's 26 from YouTube. He sat in the house. He taught himself how to play from YouTube. So all you just need with another beat-up guitar that was just made here locally. But so it just shows all you just need is that drive to improve yourself. All those skills are online.
Okay. Wonderful. We're running out of time, but Mike, did you have something to say?
Yeah, actually, no one has commented on Salvation. Salvation, congratulations. You're the future of this music industry. Okay? Yes, round of applause for him. One of the biggest artists in Africa is Black Coffee. BET Award, you can't book him now. He's flat out working in the US. Okay? What's he doing? He's doing Afro mixes of everything. Yeah, he did one for Alicia Keys. Yeah, we actually have a DJ in Kenya, in US called Expect. Yeah, who also did the Alicia Keys. So that's a new trend. And Salvation, if you haven't met Kettlebell yet, please meet them today, because some of the things you want to sample, they've already recorded them years ago. All the chants, all the traditional music. Now mix that with house, and it's all tribal. It's a winner, okay? That's the next direction, guys. And we need to also, as an industry, look at what the rest of the world is doing. Calvin Harris isn't a DJ. He's an artist. Yeah, so all you DJs who are refusing to pay your licenses to play music, guess what? You're also a composer. Go and register, okay? So congratulations on that. In terms of synchronization, I agree with my colleagues in the panel. It's the next big thing, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, local content. Local content is increasing in Kenya. It's going to be 60% in 3 years in terms of movies and series. A lesser known fact is also advertising content. There's a new regulation at CAK that says 40% of your content and adverts must be local. That's the location, that's the actors, and that's the music. Okay, at the moment, this is, as an organization that deals with synchronization, this is a low sync market, okay? But it's going to increase. As a songwriter and as a composer, even if you're not what we call a commercial artist, make sure you still register with a publisher and you still register with a CMO. You can make money twice in terms of synchronizations. You can get a synchronization deal for a title track or for the music or library music within the movie or the commercial. Then you can get residual income. Every time that advert plays, every time that series plays, MCSK is collecting that money. Okay, so you can actually make money twice. Finally, to Achi, you talked about system to govern the industry. There's a music bill that's currently being debated. You can download it from ongea.biz, which is our website. All of you guys here, go to our website, download it, review it, give your comments to the ministry. It's taking comments still at the moment. And one last thing, I'm not getting airplay for my artists. Please don't, if you're a new artist coming up, don't go straight to the mainstream stations, okay? You need to build your fan base. A lot of you guys here may not remember how it was done, but the rebirth of our industry was Agopa DJs. No one was playing Agopa until they got every DJ in Nairobi to start playing their stuff. Then the radio stations followed. Kiss 100 started playing Agopa and saying it was a fresh hit. Meanwhile, the DJs had been playing it for 3 months, okay? There's still some tried and tested ways to get traction. Now we have social media. So YouTube, Facebook videos are better now than YouTube, even just for the track. And then the DJs, of course, and then community radio stations. Grow your fan base locally. And then mainstream doesn't set the trends, they follow. They just trick us that they're setting the trends, okay? Set your own trend, the mainstream will follow.
Add one thing to add, Bill. I know we are running out of time. Just one little thing. I just wanted to clarify. I feel like we've thrown this word around, and maybe it's good to clarify. Synchronization it's basically when you have music synced to images. Okay, so that's why we're talking about adverts for TV commercials, and we're talking about film, TV shows. The thing that I think is important to mention is that there are people doing both. They are creating and scoring for something that's being shot, and then others are taking their already existing music and licensing it. So you have two ways of doing it. If that's one of your strengths, you will find that in some of these series, like Rush, I think used a lot of local, already existing content. I think one of Sauti Sol's songs is there. That's still synchronization. And then there's others who are creating documentaries, and they've been asked to actually score and write for the images that are moving on the screen. So I think it's actually two opportunities. If you already have content, you can actually license, and if you're creating, you can either license or you can give them permission to buy if you're being paid a lot of money. And I think there was just one, I've forgotten the other thing, so it's fine, thanks.
So just to clarify, this synchronization, there's performance rights is what? Performance rights revenues, what are those?
Okay, sync rights are purely the matching of your audio with images.
Right.
So you can get a synchronization license given, and a license is basically a permission. You're not transferring ownership, the thing still belongs to you. And you're saying, because Mali wants a song to play while these guys are talking or while this character is in the car driving to the shopping center, that music could be yours, right? So you're matching your music to their imagery. That's what syncing is. You're syncing the two things. And you can do that either by giving them permission to use a segment of an already existing song, or you can actually score fresh, right? And that one, you can charge more because it's more time, whatever but basically it's two business opportunities is what I'm trying to clarify.
Thank you very much. We'll just take two final comments and then we'll round this up. Keep them really, really brief. So let's start with you since you've been very patient. No, I think he's, okay, sorry, it's been wrong.
My name is Midambo. I'm in the brand marketing and events and music production. And I've realized that we talked about the issue of how we can do other things beyond just waiting for the revenues from MCSK and other things, like events. Most artists can go to a club, the events. You can go to a club and book an upcoming artist an event, and the artist can perform and make something small out of it. But most artists are not even willing to take that try. So when we go back to the way we discussed this issue, we see that artists really want things that will make them famous, not make them money.
Okay.
That's interesting.
And the things that will make them famous
are those two different things?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Things that will make you famous are the media, the mainstream and everything, and the showbiz and the blings and everything. But now when we go back to the events, you don't need a bling to perform. You don't need your guitar, you need your playback track, you just need to perform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Perform well.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Or you won't be called back.
That's the main thing. So if they were able to link up with promoters, brand managers and people who are in the events, they're able to get exactly their returns without even struggling in the studio, in the recording and everything else.
So you're trying to get some jobs for yourself? Huh?
Yeah.
Well done, man.
See Midambo.
Thanks, Midambo. We'll hear from you. We promise we'll come back to you.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm Jaisha. I'm an artist. I'm a writer and a music producer as well. I just wanted to comment on what he's saying. In my line of job where I work in an entertainment production house, and we are a booking agency as well. And so I think I would love to encourage the young artists who are coming up, including myself, which I have a plan of doing such stuff because I also have new music that I want to put out. But I think we can book ourselves. We don't need promoters. I've been to different towns in this country. I've traveled across from Taveta to Isiolo, and people love our music. People love Kenyan artists. You don't need a big name to go there. You just need a contact in a club, brand yourself well, talk to the owner. They'll pay you a little money, especially if you come from Nairobi. They really respect people from Nairobi. Seriously, yeah, seriously. Like Mombasa, they say Nairobi Ulaya. So it's very simple. Yeah, if you're able to get a little funding from yourself, or maybe you work, you save a little bit and go out there, trust me, you can be able to make good returns and also be able to put your name out there because the fans are not in Nairobi. Fans are out there. I've been performing from Isiolo to Mombasa. I've been putting my music out there. I've been giving DJs. Right now, if you go to Embu, I can stage a concert, which I know I'll get a good audience of not less than 100 people in the club, you see. So it depends on how you create. Just be creative, create your own space, yeah? Interact, make sure you get to know people out there, you get to know what they want, get to know what they really need to hear, yeah? And that's why you see the Kikuyu artists, not really the Kikuyu, maybe those people who sing in mother tongue, they don't need media. Those guys go out there, do their music here, but when you go out there, the music is more popular and people buy it really.
Joshua, thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's just hear from here, 361.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Michael Kavuma. well known as Mitch, OK Hill Beats, or Mitch the Situation. Yes, I work at Creatives Garage. I'm the manager, studio producer. So I want to just tack on something so small, and I want to be so brief. Support. It's what we're all forgetting. Us as fellow Kenyan artists, we all have this thing of saying, I have a friend who raps, who sings, but at the same time, would not do that of support. What's so hard in supporting your own content? I'm sure there's so many artists out here today. You're an artist. He's an artist. He's my artist. But what's so hard for you to go and support what you really believe in? If you call this guy your friend, you have the time to call him out for drinks, but you don't have the time to share, like, repost, comment. And you tell him that, oh, I had your mixtape, but you don't have time to listen to his stuff. A very good example is Nasty C. If you guys know about Nasty C, the South African artist, yeah. He released his first debut album. I follow that guy, like, really well. Sent him 18 beats. I thought my beat would, like, jump up on his album, but unfortunately didn't make it. So Nasty C releases an album 3 days ago. I literally told myself I'm not going to listen to that album. I'm not going to go online. I'm not going to download it. But then, all my friends are making so much noise about it. So what made me go back to it? Yesterday I was online looking for Nasty C, bad hair, Nasty C, bad hair. But it bitters me so much that we are pushing out so much content. Kenya is on the rise right now. Like, in East Africa, you guys, we are the best, honestly speaking. We're pushing out so much content. Let me not even lie to you. Go to Uganda, go to Tanzania. Ask any Tanzanian or Ugandan artist about SoundCloud. You're speaking foreign language to them. They don't understand what SoundCloud is. But Kenyans push their content so much. And I've been trying to push up a hashtag called Support Yours. Support your artist. You guys, come together, man. We are all one. I can have... No, hold on. I'm almost done.
Preach, preacher.
I'm almost done.
Hallelujah. Rather.
Yeah, I can have, let's say, a producer. I'm a producer, yeah? To all the fellow producers in the house, yeah? I can have a producer next to me and I tell them, you know what? Let's collab. But me asking you to collab is like a simple way to diminish me in your eyes. So like, it feels like I'm small in your eyes and it's so easy for you to say no than actually say yes. Do you get it? So that whole picture of there's something above, you have the time to go and download Jay-Z's Carter 3 or whatever that guy releases, but you don't have the time to download a hot track that your friend released. You're not doing anything as a friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, I'm afraid we can't afford any. Can we afford any more
we
now?
can't take more questions. But to the panel, I just have 2 questions. I have heard Tim talk about live performances, so I'd like to find out, does Kenya have a festival, a music festival that everyone talks about beyond the Kenyan borders? And number 2, beyond the monetary terms, what is the role of music in culture development? Thank you.
All right, thanks for that, Beth. Let's just take them in the order in which they came. There was Midambo, who talked about events. Jaysha, I think we're both talking about events, although Jaysha had a spin on that, booking yourself and being a little more creative. And then Mitch, of course, who talked about supporting your own with his hashtag, support yours, throwing the challenge out there. So, and then we'll respond to Beth's questions on the festival and the role of music in what again, Beth? Culture and development. Good. Guys,
I think Midambo and Jaysha were making comments, and I think my comment back is I agree with both of you that there is something to be said about mapping your own journey, and it's the hustle. Like as I said, everyone starts somewhere. Being able to go if you know there's a show. If your music is conducive for a club, then go. If you're a gospel artist and maybe you don't want to think about that, go to a church, right? So what we're saying is not, I think his message is not go to a club and now ask the owner. It's find a platform or a venue where people who would respond to your music might be willing to, have a pleasant surprise one one evening when you show up. And to Jesha, taking that journey around the country, I mean, kudos to you, man. Most people are waiting for the Nairobi lifestyle to hit them, but you have taken Nairobi to everywhere else. So you are like an international artist, you're like inter-county, yeah, international artist. So well done, man, well done. You're our Chris Brown. On Beth's point, I think festivals I usually leave my good friend Strano to talk about because he has that information at his fingertips. I think for me, the role...
Do you want to comment about...
I agree. Kavuma, let me tell you, I agree. And I'll tell you, I agree with you also that is the reality. And I'll tell you that in many forums, I hear this phrase, I don't owe you anything. Okay? In as much as you're hustling, I'm hustling. So the challenge is now, what is it that I can do to make this person, unless it's just Madarao, because that's a different story altogether. Like, I just don't want to like your stuff because you didn't like mine. That's a bad problem, and we can address it in a different forum. But if it's good quality music, and we're looking at it like, yes, we are one, and Kenya is the platform that we want to like completely saturate with our own content, then yes, that is the only way to go. And also to network. I mean, Tim was joking about it earlier and saying, are you shaking hands? That's what it means. Like creating a community so that it's not just about cartels, it's, are you going? If Priska is performing, will I go and watch? I'll go. It doesn't mean that, I don't have any qualms about it, but that's a mentality that you have to adopt. Yeah, but on the other side, you know that there are people who are just like, yeah, not my cup of tea. Don't let it put you down. Just keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. Yeah.
I just wanted to chip in on performance. We have artists in the room, right?
Guys.
How many artists here performed last week? Hands high up, please. How many artists here performed last month? Okay.
Yeah,
how many artists here, put your hands down, perform more than once a week?
Yeah, where? In the house, where? Yeah, in a venue, where people pay.
Tim wants to leave. What's my point? Again, going back to River Road, those guys do at least 3 shows a week. Yeah, and why do they do that? And it's not big corporate gigs. They're doing those shows for their fans. Okay? Those fans are in love with their brand. Those fans buy their music. They sell CDs every day. That's something that this industry lacks. Your big bands like Coldplay, U2, they didn't start on big stages. They started in pubs. And they did that for 5, 6, 7 years. How are we any different? Our industry forgets that. You drop a track, you automatically expect to be on stage. You need to do the work, guys. Go to the clubs. I commend you for going up country. And you're right. We book artists right around Africa. You take them out of Nairobi, they're huge, no matter the size they are in Nairobi. Yeah? You'll get audiences just like that. So find your fan base. Try as much as possible to perform to your fan base, however you can. It doesn't mean investing a lot of money, even if it's a backing track or just a guitar. There are enough venues like Creatives Garage, for example. Just have a regular gig at least once a week. Yeah. The other thing in terms of festivals, this is now our time for a plug. Ongea, the Eastern Africa Music Summit, every January. Okay, we had the first one this year after 10 years of Kenya Music Week. The next one is 26th to the 29th of January at Sarit Center. We will have 32 showcase performances over 4 days. That's 8 showcases per night, and we're flying in different festival bookers from around the world to come here and to take our acts out there. Okay, so you're all welcome. Come and be amongst the 10,000 people we attract every year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll briefly talk about, and this will probably also be my finishing notes, about your question and also address the 2 things you guys talked about. As far as festivals go, there's some, but There's Blankets, it's Koroga, those are the ones in Nairobi. Coast has a concert or a festival every other week. Nairobi has everything. I mean, if you go to Kenya Bars, you go to FAT, there's always an event happening. There's a festival happening next week, put together by
Marvin.
Yes.
Rhythm and Wine.
Yes, Rhythm and Wine. So there's always something happening. I think what happens is we are afraid or we want people to call us. So the onus is on us, especially the younger guys, to go out. I think my parting shot is when I look into the audience, I can see the Cool Kid Mafia from The Nest and Hever Fund. I can see at Wal there is a hot producer. I can see Third Hand Music. I can see a guy who plugged his pub and he's a manager. He's a producer. Guys, just get a contact. Me, I know I've come with, I always, anywhere I go, I'm trying to plug something that I'm doing. I can see so many musicians, and I know where everyone fits in some of the plans I'm trying to do. Shake some hands, get a contact. That's what it boils down to. Everything else, like I said, you can't feed the future to someone who's hungry. And so I think the onus is on us. Like now I know he's a producer. I know him, he's an international artist. Yes. So guys, let's shake some hands. Let's not only be on social media. Cool.
Well, I saved one question, and it was Archie's question. The question, or are there people who know better than the artist? So I've been thinking about it for the last few minutes, and the question and the answer is yes. I want to address this from the perspective of business. If you are the person who knows how to grow tomatoes, there's someone who knows really how to transport the tomatoes. There's someone who knows how to clean and put up a market. There's someone who actually knows how to build the crates. So if you're looking at your art, Archie, as a business, then you have to actually accept that there are other people who have other skills that can leverage, that you can leverage to make your artistic business better. And this is something we struggle with. I won't say that a lot of artists struggle with this because we are driven by passion, we're driven by producing stuff that's us, our aesthetics. But if you want outside capital, if you want someone else's platform, then you'll need to start to look at your work as a product. It's connected to you, definitely, but you need a lot of other networks and support, some of whom you have to pay, some of whom you have to give rights, some of whom you have to actually sell the dream, the future dream, to make work. So if you're going to become a business, then yes, you have to accept that there are people who know better about some things that really affect your work. And I'm saying that as a person who also is around creation of content, whether it's film or music or literature. The space where we are right now, we've analyzed it a lot. We've talked about the frustrations of the space that the music exists right now. We've talked about the cartels. We've talked about the shortcomings of MCSK. But the other thing is that this market is ripe for disruption. The things as Tim said, this is not unfair. This is how things are. That is what Nation Media would say a few years ago, before liberalization of airwaves. That's what taxi rank number 8 would do outside Hilton before Uber arrived. This is the market right now is ripe for disruption. It is ripe for a new model, and that's the hope that the current problems can create beautiful business opportunities that you can start to link very easily your consumers, your aesthetic, and your paying audience. And there are many people who are trying to do this. There are people who are building their audiences, and they're having amazing concerts. There are people who are building aesthetics like East Africa Wave and building their audiences at it. There are people who are refusing to bow down to the mafia in Nairobi and have concerts in in Embu with Diamond there and not invite any curtain raisers from Nairobi. So this is a space that is ripe for disruption. Unfortunately, a lot of us are still fixated at this space of this frustration. You want to be the next team. You won't be. What you need to do is make him irrelevant.
Aaron. No one knows Tim. No one knows Tim. Everyone knows Aaron. Keep working. Hunger.
So, however this sounds motivation-y, some of you, we've sat in forums like this for a long time. I have literally spent my 20s shuttling between one forum or the other, on either side of the desk, mostly on that side. Luckily, finally, the microphone is in front of me. So this is like a career move. However, friends, the market challenges that are your opportunities for disruption, and the problems of the older generation, the people who have, in one lifetime, people have dealt with cassettes, flash disks, flash drives, and now we are talking about streaming. In one lifetime, one lifetime. Since 1986, there was a floppy drive that could only save one Word document. Now, there's a terabyte in your hand that you can carry your entire life's knowledge and your family within one lifetime. So these things that are sounding difficult, and this sort of like, you younger guys, you need to follow these older guys, especially the guys with 20 years information and infrastructure. This is how not to do it. Because this is what has brought us to where we are right now. And people who are making a difference, who are transforming a difference, are looking at where you sit, who is your audience, and what tools you have to make the problem that you have irrelevant. I particularly wanted to make films that would go on TV and everyone would watch, and my mother would be proud of me eventually, or finally. But you cannot access that space anymore. But we are happy there's disruption. Legacy media is in its deathbed. Legacy music, along with it. And I'm not speaking out of malice, but we are at a critical inflection point in all these industries, especially the ones that peg on media. And so if you think your hustle is streaming, focus. If you think your hustle is diaspora, hustle, build infrastructure there. Because then in another 5 or 3 years, you'll be the one sitting here, and us will be the guys who you are comparing yourself to. Because a few years back, I sat here,
there.
And I listened, I sat there in this same room, and I listened to people talk about the future of film industry or the future of finance. And this is the place I plug myself in. We are, as Hiva, we are a fund. There's no other in East Africa. Luckily, right now, the bank rates have gone down, so you have a few more options. But music is still high risk. Arts are still high risk. No one is investing, but at least we have cool people here, like the Presidential Music Society. So they took, let's clap
commission
to these big people who make your life easier, or that negotiate some resources for you, but without public investment. There are people who are coming up with small solutions that would help in your businesses. So if you have a good business, you can demonstrate your revenues, you can demonstrate that you can project your future. We can help you create that value by investing. Our relationships manager is here. Her name is Amal Mohammed. Please stand up so that people can see you. Take her card, because she's one person in East Africa that's financing the arts. And I'm saying this without fear of contradiction. So yeah, that is a person that you need to talk to. And yes, thank you for this opportunity.
I think everyone has had an opportunity to plug their thing. Their festival team has plugged these over and over again. So has George and Mike with his festival. Shamelessly, you know. I think you're the only decent one, June.
Can I plug? No, me, I don't want to plug. I already plugged earlier. Me, anyway, just come for the free sessions. What I wanted to say is just something. I realized that we've used the word business, and I realized we've made a shift. When we started a lot of these forums many years ago, it used to be the music sector. Now, what is the word on your, what was the title of today's Nini? Of the what? Music what?
Business.
Industry or business, right? That shift is very important, and I think there's an onus on us as artists to do something, but also remember that we are operating within this environment that we call Kenya, right? So just the way all of these other businesses that we've referenced are considered, the agricultural this or the manufacturing this, it's also the music or the arts industry. What does that mean? You have obligations. If you're making money, there's that thing we don't like to do, but you have to pay tax. If you pay tax, what does that mean? You become a professional in a particular environment, and that you are contributing some of this revenue to the government, who will then say, anyway, these people made us a lot of money last year, we should put some money back into their business and into their industry to create infrastructures. It's happened. If you just take a parallel industry that has nothing to do with music and watch how it grew and what it is, because we speak the creatives language, we don't speak the business language, which is why we're saying things like music is high risk. To who? Do you feel risky when you're singing? No. It's the bank. It is the bank who you're asking for money to fund your project who says Ati Music. We don't understand that. And none of you have prepared a table or a flow chart or some Excel worksheet to show exactly how much money you're going to bring back so that you can secure the loan you're asking for. Other industries are doing that. So you, as the artist out there, what is it that you're doing to put certain infrastructure so that you are considered to be, number one, a professional? And this is tied into Salvation's point, because if you study architecture, you then become a registered architect. So you are considered to be a player, a professional in that industry. Where are you going? You people who are musicians, Munanda wapi? You studied on YouTube, you'll get your certificate, then YouTube will give you a certificate to say you are now a professional in Kenya. No, it won't happen. But part of this journey of trying to get the music education back will give you a forum to become that qualified professional, so that when you speak about certain things, not only people listen, but you can implement what it is that you have learned. But remember, you're playing within an industry now. So the people who have set up their business and their trade in that way and are taking care of their brand, taking care of invoicing, contracts, how they receive, opening a bank account. These payments for handshakes, they gotta stop. Because you still have rent at the end of the month and you'll forget how many hands you shook with money. So I just wanted to leave that little tidbit because it has definitely come of age. Yeah, we're not where it used to be, ACA sector, where, and those are some of the things, if you look at the music bill, that document is trying to address. Who are we going to consider to be a music professional? Are you one of those people? So that in the next 10 years, you can put that on your CV without any fear of shame or anything. That's actually what you do to earn a living from. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This has been a wonderful panel, hasn't it? It's been June Gashui, Mike Strano, George Gashara, and of course the innovator here, Tim Rimbui, selling tomatoes or whatever it is that he'll be selling. But thank you very much, and you've been a wonderful audience, and thank you for the comments, the questions, the challenges, like the one from Archie. Thank you very much indeed. And we hope to see you again at another panel organized by Music in Africa. Thanks to the Guter Institute for their wonderful hospitality. Speaking of shaking hands, there is a contacts book at the door. So as you shake your hands, please andika your contacts there, write your contacts there, so that you get on the Music in Africa mailing list. Otherwise, thank you very much. Hope you have a safe evening, and we shall see you again very, very soon. Asante.
Thank you.